I reminded him that I had tried to wake him up earlier, and his alarm had been blaring too. "Now please eat your breakfast," I said as he rubbed his eyes and shuffled to the dining table. He immediately started complaining about the eggs. "Hey Grace, this egg is too runny. I can't eat this unless it's well done. Make it over," he demanded. I was caught hanging laundry and tried to hold back my irritation. "Then don't eat it," I snapped. "Why would you say that? And this coffee is scorching hot. Mom always got the eggs and coffee just right." All right, I sighed, quickly redoing the eggs and letting the coffee cool. He ate hurriedly but left his plate on the table, rushing towards the restroom. "Wait up, you should clean up after yourself." "I'm short on time," he called back, dismissing his responsibility, even though the breakfast delay was his fault. Annoyed, I paused my makeup routine to clean up the dishes. While I was picking out my outfit, he called out again. "Grace, over here. Help with my tie." There he stood, the tie hanging limply around his neck, looking utterly helpless. "Seriously? You can't even tie your tie? What did you do before we got married?" "Mom always did it," he replied sheepishly. With a deep exhale, I knotted his tie, and somehow, we both managed to leave the house. This had become our routine. He never helped with any housework, and it felt like I was juggling everything and babysitting him too. Every time an issue arose, it was always, "Mom did it this way," or "with Mom, it went like that," always referencing his mother, Michelle. This routine dragged on for a year, and as the pressures mounted, thoughts of divorce began to creep into my mind. My father's insistence that marriage is forever echoed in my mind, tempering my frustrations. However, an unexpected hiccup at work led to my being assigned a week-long business trip starting the next day. When I broke the news to my husband that evening, he paused his video game, clearly surprised. "Hold up, a business trip for a whole week? It's out of my hands. Work's calling," I explained. "No way, who's going to cover for you here for a week?" he asked, irritation seeping into his tone. "You'll have to step up. It's about time you got a grip on the household duties," I responded. At that, he set down his controller and locked eyes with me. "Isn't a wife supposed to care for her husband and the house? Are you just bailing on that?" His question dripped with outdated expectations. "Seriously? That's such old-school thinking. We both have jobs. We should be a team." "I don't see it that way," I countered. "Well, Mommy was always on top of things at home," he retorted. I couldn't help but point out, but she was a stay-at-home mom. Honestly, it's kind of odd to hear an adult man constantly talking about his mommy. He bristled at this. "What's your deal, taking shots at me and my mom?" "I'm not, but let's be real. You're a mama's boy. This is how you see me? You think you can talk to me like that?" His defensiveness escalated, but I had reached my limit. "Face it, you're a mama's boy. You can't get up without help, can't even tie your tie, and won't lift a finger around the house. You're constantly comparing me to your mom. For once, handle your stuff." "Really? You're going to come at me like that?" That's why I was iffy about marrying someone older. I should have sided with Mommy and chosen a younger, perkier girl, he shot back. His words struck a nerve, and our conversation spiraled into a major blowout. "Even joking, you shouldn't say stuff like that." "We're married," I said, trying to anchor the conversation to the commitment we had made to each other. The tension between us was palpable, revealing the deep rifts that have formed in our relationship. When my husband hinted at divorce during our heated argument, I was taken aback. With a smug tone, he challenged, "You can't possibly want a divorce, can you? You wouldn't want to be labeled divorced. And think about what your dad said about sticking together." But then he sharply added, "Well, I just did. If you go on this business trip and leave me here alone, I'm seriously considering a divorce." With those words, he stormed off to our bedroom, leaving me stunned. Despite the shock, the idea of divorce lingered in my mind, something I had previously struggled with, as I didn't want to disappoint my parents. Yet now, it seemed like a viable option to contemplate seriously. With these heavy thoughts, I went to bed. Bright and early the next day, I was up preparing for my trip. The fallout from our argument was still fresh and weighing on me, but I had work commitments to attend to. I nudged Edward, who was still nestled under the covers. "I'm heading out. You better wake up or you'll be late for work." His response was a sleepy, unintelligible mumble. Rolling my eyes, I left. A few hours later, a text from him popped up on my phone. You barely tried to wake me. Now I'm running late. Did you really go on that trip? I quickly texted back, I did wake you up, and yes, I'm on my trip. I'll be back in a week. He read my message but didn't reply. Mid-trip, I decided to call my parents to update them about Edward's behavior and share my growing inclination towards divorce. I braced myself for a lecture, unsure of how they would react to the possibility of our marriage ending. The call was going to be a difficult one, but it was necessary to seek their advice and perhaps their understanding of my situation. Their response took me by surprise. We had no idea he behaved like this. Take your time to think, but don't force yourself to stay in a situation that isn't right. Always remember, we are in your corner, no matter what you decide. Their words of unconditional support brought tears to my eyes. Upon returning from my business trip, I knew a serious conversation with Edward was inevitable. If he didn't show signs of change, I was ready to consider divorce more seriously. My mind was abuzz with thoughts as I walked into our house late in the evening, only to find Edward wasn't home yet. As I looked around, a set of signed divorce papers and a note on the table caught my attention. The note read, "Since you ditched the housework, I'm heading back to my folks. Check out the divorce papers and think things over." Reading this, my initial reaction was rage. How dare he threaten me with divorce? But as my anger subsided, I began to see the situation differently. Maybe this was a sign that ending things might not be such a bad idea after all. With that realization, I decided to file the papers. When the divorce was finalized, I felt as if a heavy weight had been lifted from my shoulders. That evening, I went to bed and slept more soundly than I had in a long time. The next morning, as I enjoyed a peaceful cup of coffee, the door swung open, and in walked Edward, clearly upset. "Why didn't you come to my parents' place to apologize? What's gotten into you?" he demanded, his temper flaring. Then, noticing the empty spot where the divorce papers had been, his expression shifted from anger to shock. "Hold on, where are the divorce papers?" "Oh, I filed them," I calmly responded. "You did what?" He looked as if he had been slapped. "You went through with it." "Thanks for signing them. It made everything smoother," I said. "You can't be serious. Did you go all the way? Have you lost your mind?" he exclaimed, unable to hide his astonishment at my decisiveness. Seeing how composed I remained, he lost his cool completely. "That's it. I'm calling my parents." "Sure, knock yourself out," I replied, undisturbed by his threat, knowing I had made the right decision for myself. An hour after the confrontation with Edward, his parents, Michelle and Arthur, arrived at our apartment. Michelle immediately spotted me and dramatically exclaimed, "You! How could you just divorce Edward like that? What's your deal?" I responded coolly, "If he had the divorce papers all filled out and ready to go, doesn't that suggest he wanted out? Is that a problem?" "How can you be so bold when you're just his wife?" she countered, but before the situation could escalate further, Arthur intervened with a firm "enough." The room fell silent. Arthur turned to me. "Grace, can you walk us through what happened?" I agreed and began detailing the ongoing issues, our argument before my trip and the divorce papers Edward had left for me. I was at my wit's end. It seemed like he wanted a divorce, so I went with it, I explained, maintaining eye contact with Arthur. After a moment of consideration, Arthur was about to speak when Edward interjected, "Mommy, Dad, come on. Can't you see she's out of line? Tell her off." Michelle quickly sided with Edward. "Oh, Edward, my poor baby. She's so hasty. You should reverse the divorce right now." "There's no reversing it. Our divorce is final. We're strangers now," I stated firmly. Michelle's face turned red and she opened her mouth to respond, but once again, Arthur cut her off. "Zip it, Michelle." He then apologized to me for Edward's behavior. Turning to Edward, whose eyes were bulging with surprise, Arthur continued, "You bonehead. I knew you had issues, but this is next level. Using divorce papers as a threat? Unbelievable. You had it coming." Michelle tried to interject, but Arthur didn't let up. "It's partly on you, Michelle. You spoiled him. Watch out. If you keep this up, I might divorce you too." The tension in the room was palpable as Arthur confronted the reality of the situation, leaving Edward and Michelle at a loss for words. After the intense discussion, Michelle was visibly shaken, her thoughts lingering on the unexpected threat of divorce from Arthur. She murmured to herself, visibly troubled. As Arthur turned his attention back to me, His expression was marked by sincere regret. "Grace, I deeply regret the trouble our clueless son has caused you. It's clear he has a lot to learn. Please move on and find happiness in your life," Arthur implored with genuine concern. Thanking Arthur for his understanding, I watched as he left, taking a dejected Edward with him. It wasn't long before the news spread throughout our circle. Arthur had decided to cut financial and emotional ties with his son, a drastic step meant to push Edward towards self-sufficiency. Edward's life took a downward spiral shortly thereafter. He moved into a modest, somewhat neglected apartment, his first time living truly by himself. The transition was far from smooth. His new home quickly descended into chaos, a visible representation of his disorganized personal life. With no one to depend on and habitual tardiness, Edward soon found himself unemployed, his inability to adhere to a schedule finally catching up with him. Simultaneously, the dynamics within his family deteriorated further. Michelle, who had always been intricately involved in Edward's personal affairs, overstepped boundaries one too many times, which led to a serious fallout with Arthur. Ultimately, this resulted in their separation. Michelle ended up moving in with Edward, each of them struggling to find stable footing. They scraped by with low-end jobs, their lives marked by a series of unfortunate events and poor decisions, with no clear path to improvement visible. On the other hand, my own life took a markedly different turn. Free from the daily stresses and emotional drain of my relationship with Edward, I found myself alone in our condo, which now felt surprisingly spacious and full of potential. With renewed energy and focus, I dedicated myself to my career. The absence of Edward's negative influence allowed me to excel at work, and my professional life flourished as a result. Feeling liberated and optimistic, I embraced my newfound independence. My living space not only felt more open but became a true sanctuary where I could relax and plan for the future. The improvement in my work life was palpable, and I approached each day with a sense of excitement and anticipation for what lay ahead. The contrast between my thriving existence and the downward trajectory of Edward and Michelle's situation was stark. While they were no longer a part of my life, the lessons learned from our time together resonated deeply, reinforcing my commitment to personal growth and happiness.
The day started like any other. I was buried under a mountain of paperwork at the law firm, trying to make sense of a particularly convoluted case, when my phone buzzed with a call that would change everything. "Harper, it's about your dad," the voice said, a mix of sympathy and urgency. My heart stopped, and I knew before they even said the words. He was gone. Just like that. "My name is Harper. I'm a paralegal, and I guess you could say my life just got flipped upside down. The news of my father's sudden death hit me like a freight train. He was my rock, the one person who always had my back, and now he was just gone. I felt like I was falling into a pit with no bottom. I barely remember leaving work or the drive home. Everything was a blur of tears and disbelief. As I walked through the door, Cole was already there, his eyes wide with concern. "Harper, what happened?" he asked, pulling me into a tight hug. His arms were warm and solid, the only thing keeping me from crumbling to the floor. "It's Dad," I whispered, the words barely audible. "He's gone." Cole held me tighter, whispering soothing words, but my mind was elsewhere, racing through memories and regrets. I should have called him more, visited more often. But it was too late for that now. The next few days were a whirlwind of arrangements and condolences. My father had left behind more than just memories. There was a mountain of debt I had no idea about. The savings I thought I had? Gone, swallowed up by unpaid loans and medical bills. It was like losing him all over again. One night, as I sat alone in the dim light of our living room, sifting through his papers, I found a letter addressed to me in his handwriting. It was sealed, untouched, as if waiting for this very moment. My hands trembled as I opened it, revealing a few lines that hinted at a secret he never got the chance to share. There was no explanation, just a cryptic message about something he'd left for me, something important. I showed Cole the letter, hoping he could make sense of it. "What do you think it means?" I asked, feeling a mix of curiosity and dread. Cole studied the letter, his brow furrowed. "I don't know, Harper. Maybe it's something he wanted to tell you in person." His words offered little comfort. As much as I wanted to unravel the mystery, I had more immediate concerns. Our finances were in shambles, and I was struggling to keep it together. Cole, ever the pragmatist, suggested we get married sooner rather than later. "We can pool our resources, make things easier," he said, his tone gentle but firm. Marriage had always been on the cards, but this felt different, more like a necessity than a celebration. Still, the thought of having someone to lean on was a lifeline I desperately needed. So I agreed, clinging to the hope that together we could weather the storm. But beneath the surface, doubts lingered. Cole was supportive, no doubt, but there were times when I caught a flicker of something else in his eyes. Anxiety, perhaps, or maybe something deeper. He was under a lot of pressure at work, and I knew his mother, Vivian, wasn't exactly my biggest fan. She had always been polite, but there was an edge to her interactions with me, a subtle disapproval that I couldn't quite shake. I tried to brush it off, focusing instead on the future Cole and I were building. But the letter from my father nagged at me, a constant reminder that there were secrets yet to be uncovered. As I lay in bed one night, staring at the ceiling, I couldn't help but wonder if this was just the beginning of something bigger. The next morning, I woke with a sense of determination. Whatever my father had left behind, I would find it. And whatever challenges lay ahead, I would face them head on. I had to for my sake, for Ivy's, and for the future I was determined to build. Yet, as I prepared to dive into the chaos of my new reality, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this story than I knew. And that maybe, just maybe, the real storm was still on the horizon. Life after my father's funeral settled into a tense routine. Every morning, I woke up with a knot in my stomach, a mix of grief and anxiety that seemed to grow heavier with each passing day. Cole and I were married now, but the financial strain was taking its toll. We were constantly juggling bills, and the stress was palpable. Cole was working late more often, his job at the tech company demanding more of his time and energy. I understood, of course. We needed the money, and he was doing his best to provide for us. But it left me feeling isolated, like I was carrying the weight of everything alone. Ivy, our daughter, was my only solace, her laughter a bright spot in an otherwise gloomy landscape. One evening, as I was tucking Ivy into bed, she looked up at me with those big, innocent eyes. "Mommy, why does Grandma say you're not a real mommy?" she asked, her voice small and confused. The question hit me like a punch to the gut. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Grandma says you don't know how to take care of me properly," Ivy replied, her little face scrunched up in concentration. I forced a smile. "Grandma loves you very much, Ivy. Sometimes grown-ups just say things they don't mean." But inside, I was seething. Vivian had always been critical, but undermining me to Ivy was a new low. I decided to confront Cole about it the next day. When he finally got home, exhausted and distracted, I brought it up. "Cole, we need to talk about your mother." He sighed, rubbing his temples. "Harper, I really don't have the energy for this right now." "It's important," I insisted, trying to keep my frustration in check. "She's telling Ivy things that make me look bad." Cole's face tightened. "She's just concerned, Harper. She wants what's best for Ivy. And I don't." I shot back, my voice rising despite myself. "That's not what I meant," Cole said, a hint of irritation creeping into his tone. "Look, I'll talk to her, okay? But she's not the enemy here." I wanted to scream that maybe she was, but I bit my tongue. The last thing I needed was to push Cole further away. The tension between us grew thicker with each passing day. I could feel the distance widening, like a chasm opening up beneath our feet. One night, as I sat alone on the couch, I found myself staring at the mysterious letter from my father. It was a puzzle I couldn't solve, a secret that seemed just out of reach. Part of me wondered if it held the key to everything falling apart around me. The next morning, I decided to call Zoe, my best friend and confidant. If anyone could help me make sense of things, it was her. We met for coffee, and as I poured my heart out, she listened intently, her expression a mix of empathy and concern. "Harper, you can't let Vivian get to you," Zoe said, her voice firm but kind. "You're a great mom, and Ivy knows that. As for Cole, maybe it's time to have a serious talk about where you both stand." "I know," I replied, fiddling with my coffee cup. "But it's like he's slipping away, and I don't know how to bring him back." Zoe reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "You're stronger than you think," Just remember, you're not alone in this. Her words were a balm to my frayed nerves, but they didn't change the reality I faced. That evening, as I returned home, I found Cole in the living room, a tense look on his face. "We need to talk," he said, gesturing for me to sit. I nodded, my heart pounding. "What's going on?" He hesitated, then finally spoke. "My mother's been saying things because she's worried. She thinks we're not handling things well." "And you agree with her?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "No, it's not that," Cole replied, frustration evident. "But maybe she's right about one thing. We need help, Harper. Financially and maybe even emotionally." His admission was unexpected, a twist I hadn't seen coming. It was both a relief and a new source of anxiety. Accepting help meant admitting we couldn't handle things on our own, and I wasn't sure I was ready for that. But as I sat there, looking at the man I loved, I realized that maybe it was time to face the truth. Our marriage was fraying, and we needed to act before it unraveled completely. The question was, could we find our way back to each other, or had too much damage already been done? The tension in our house had reached a boiling point. It felt like I was constantly walking on eggshells, trying to avoid triggering another argument with Cole. But no matter how careful I was, the cracks in our marriage were widening, threatening to swallow us whole. One evening, as I sat at the kitchen table, sorting through the endless pile of bills, I noticed Cole's laptop was still open. Normally, I wouldn't have thought twice about it, but something about the way it was left there, screen glowing in the dim light, drew me in. I hesitated, then clicked on the email icon, a part of me knowing I shouldn't but unable to stop myself. What I found was a series of messages between Cole and his mother, Vivian. They were discussing our marriage, my abilities as a mother, and even the possibility of Cole moving back in with her, taking Ivy with him. My hands shook as I read through the emails, each word a dagger to my heart. Vivian was urging him to leave, painting me as unstable and unfit. And Cole, instead of defending me, seemed to be agreeing with her, his responses filled with doubt and uncertainty. I slammed the laptop shut, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The betrayal was suffocating. I felt like I was drowning, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't find the surface. The man I had married, the man I thought I knew, was conspiring with his mother to tear our family apart. When Cole came home that night, I confronted him. "I saw the emails, Cole," I said, my voice trembling with a mix of anger and hurt. He froze, his eyes wide with shock. "Harper, I can explain." "Explain what?" I interrupted, my voice rising. "That you're planning to leave me? That you're letting your mother dictate our lives?" "It's not like that," he insisted, running a hand through his hair in frustration. I'm overwhelmed, Harper. I don't know what to do." "Overwhelmed," I echoed, disbelief coloring my words. "So your solution is to run away? To take Ivy from me?" "I just want what's best for her," Cole replied, his voice softening. "And you think that's with Vivian?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Do you even realize what you're doing?" He looked down, guilt and conflict warring on his face. I didn't mean for it to get this far. We stood there in silence, the weight of his betrayal hanging between us. I wanted to scream, to cry, but all I could do was stand there, numb and broken. The next day, I called Zoe, desperate for some semblance of clarity. We met at a small cafe, the noise of the bustling crowd a welcome distraction from the chaos in my mind. "Harper, you need to think about what you want," Zoe said, her voice steady and reassuring. "Not just for Ivy, but for yourself." "I don't know, Zoe," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "I feel like everything's slipping away." Zoe reached across the table, her eyes filled with determination. "You're stronger than you think. Don't let them make you doubt that." Her words gave me a flicker of hope, a reminder that I wasn't alone in this fight. But as I left the cafe, my mind kept circling back to the emails, to the sense of betrayal that clung to me like a shadow. Back at home, I found Ivy playing quietly in her room, her innocence a stark contrast to the turmoil swirling around us. She looked up as I entered, her eyes bright with curiosity. "Mommy, are you okay?" she asked, her voice filled with concern far beyond her years. I forced a smile, kneeling down to her level. "I'm okay, sweetheart. Just a little tired." She nodded, accepting my answer without question, and went back to her game. But as I watched her, I knew I had to protect her from the storm brewing between Cole and me. That night, as I lay in bed, I realized that something had to change. I couldn't keep living in this limbo, waiting for the other shoe to drop. I needed to take control, to stand up for myself and for Ivy. The next morning, I made a decision. I would confront Vivian, lay everything out on the table. It was a risk, but I had nothing left to lose. This was about justice, about reclaiming my life and my family from the brink of destruction. I had no idea what would happen, but I knew one thing for certain. I was done being a pawn in someone else's game. It was time to fight back, to find my own path forward, whatever that might look like. The morning light crept through the curtains, casting a soft glow over the room, but my mind was anything but peaceful. I was determined to confront Vivian, to finally put an end to her meddling. My heart raced with a mix of fear and resolve as I prepared for what I knew would be a difficult conversation. Ivy was at school and Cole was at work, leaving me with the perfect opportunity to visit Vivian without distractions. As I drove to her house, my grip on the steering wheel tightened, my knuckles white with tension. I rehearsed what I would say, knowing I had to stay calm, composed, and firm. Vivian greeted me at the door with a surprised smile, her eyes narrowing slightly as she realized I was alone. "Harper, what a surprise." "Come in," she said, stepping aside to let me pass. I entered, the familiar scent of her lavender candles filling the air. It was a beautiful home, filled with art and elegance, much like Vivian herself. But today, I wasn't here to admire her taste. "Vivian, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "Of course. What's on your mind?" she replied, her tone pleasant but guarded. I took a deep breath, meeting her gaze head-on. "I know about the emails, Vivian. I know you've been encouraging Cole to leave me and take Ivy." Her expression didn't change, but there was a flicker of something, perhaps annoyance or regret. "Harper, I'm only looking out for my son and granddaughter. I want what's best for them. And you think tearing our family apart is what's best?" I challenged, my voice rising slightly. Vivian sighed, a hint of exasperation in her eyes. "You're struggling, Harper. Anyone can see that. I'm just trying to ensure Ivy has the stability she needs." By undermining me, I shot back, frustration bubbling to the surface. "By making Ivy question my love for her? She deserves the best," Vivian said, her voice firm but not unkind. "And I'm not convinced you can provide that right now." Her words stung, but I refused to back down. "I love Ivy more than anything, and I will do whatever it takes to protect her. That includes standing up to you." Vivian's eyes softened, and for a moment, I saw a glimpse of vulnerability. "I know you love her, Harper, but love isn't always enough." "Maybe not," I admitted, my voice quieter now. "But it's a start. And I'm not giving up on her or my marriage without a fight." The conversation ended there, a tense silence settling between us. As I left, I couldn't shake the feeling that Vivian's motives were more complicated than they seemed. Perhaps she truly believed she was acting in Ivy's best interest, but her methods were tearing us apart. Back at home, I found Cole waiting for me, his face a mask of concern. "I heard you went to see Mom," he said, his tone cautious. "I had to," I replied, meeting his gaze. "We can't keep going like this, Cole. Something has to change." He nodded, a weary sigh escaping his lips. "I know. I don't know how to fix this." "Maybe we need help," I suggested, the words feeling both foreign and necessary. "Counseling or something. For Ivy's sake, if nothing else." Cole hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Okay. If it means finding a way through this mess, I'm willing to try." It was a small step, but it felt like progress. Yet as the days passed, I couldn't shake the feeling that something else was brewing beneath the surface. A sense of unease lingered, as if the ground beneath us was shifting, ready to give way at any moment. Then, one evening, as I was sorting through my father's old papers, I stumbled upon something unexpected, a bank statement in his name, showing a significant amount of money deposited just weeks before his death. It didn't make sense. Where had this money come from, and why hadn't he told me about it? The discovery sent my mind racing, the implications both thrilling and terrifying. Could this be the secret he hinted at in his letter? If so, It changed everything. But it also raised new questions, ones I wasn't sure I was ready to face. As I sat there, the statement clutched in my trembling hands, I realized that this could be the turning point I needed. A chance to reclaim control, to protect Ivy and myself from the chaos threatening to consume us. But it also meant confronting the past, and whatever truths lay hidden within it. The stakes were higher than ever, and the path forward was uncertain. But one thing was clear, I couldn't turn back now. The fight for my family, for my future, had only just begun. The house was eerily quiet, the kind of silence that felt heavy and foreboding. I stood in the living room, staring at the bank statement I'd found among my father's papers. It was a lifeline, a potential solution to our financial chaos, but it also raised more questions than it answered. Where had this money come from, and why had my father kept it a secret? As I pondered these questions, the front door creaked open, and Cole walked in, his face drawn and tired. We hadn't spoken much since my confrontation with Vivian, both of us tiptoeing around the growing chasm in our relationship. "Harper, we need to talk," he said, breaking the silence. I nodded, bracing myself for whatever was coming. "What's on your mind?" He hesitated, a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. "I've been thinking. Maybe it's time we took a break. For Ivy's sake." The words hung in the air, a chilling echo of my worst fears. "A break," I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. "Things have been tense, and I don't want Ivy caught in the middle," Cole explained, his tone both apologetic and firm. "So, you think leaving is the answer?" I asked, struggling to keep my emotions in check. "I think we need space to figure things out," he replied, avoiding my gaze. The betrayal cut deep, but anger quickly replaced the hurt. "And where does your mother fit into all this?" I challenged, my voice rising. "Is she the one pushing you to leave?" Cole's eyes flashed with frustration. "This isn't about her, Harper. It's about us." "Is it?" I shot back, unable to hide my bitterness. "Because it feels like she's been pulling the strings all along." He opened his mouth to respond, but then closed it, the silence between us louder than any argument. I turned away, my heart pounding with a mix of rage and despair. Later that night, I called Zoe, desperate for guidance. Her voice was a lifeline, grounding me in the midst of the storm. "Harper, you have to decide what's best for you and Ivy," she said, her tone gentle but firm. "Don't let anyone else make that decision for you." "I know," I replied, my voice shaky. "But it's so hard to see clearly when everything's falling apart." "Take it one step at a time," Zoe advised. "And remember, you're stronger than you think." Her words offered some comfort, but as I hung up, the reality of my situation loomed large. I was on the brink of losing everything I'd fought for, and the thought was terrifying. The next day, I decided to dig deeper into my father's affairs. I needed answers, not just for my sake, but for Ivy's future. As I sifted through more papers, I stumbled upon a letter addressed to a law firm. It was dated just days before his death, and it mentioned a trust fund, a potential game-changer if it was real. Armed with this new information, I made an appointment with the firm, hoping they could shed light on the mystery. The lawyer I met with was a kind, middle-aged man who seemed genuinely sympathetic to my plight. "Your father set up this trust fund years ago," he explained, showing me the documents. "It was meant for your future, Harper. He wanted to ensure you were taken care of." The revelation was overwhelming, a bittersweet reminder of my father's love and foresight. But it also meant I had a decision to make, one that could change everything. As I drove home, my mind raced with possibilities. The trust fund could provide the stability I needed, a way to start fresh without the weight of financial burdens. But it also meant stepping away from the life I'd built with Cole, a prospect that was both liberating and terrifying. When I arrived home, Cole was waiting for me, a look of resignation on his face. "I heard from the lawyer," he said, his voice subdued. "About the trust fund." I nodded, unsure of what to say. "So what now?" he asked, his eyes searching mine for answers. "I don't know yet," I admitted, my heart heavy with uncertainty. "But I need time to figure it out." He nodded, accepting my words without protest. It was a moment of clarity, a realization that we were both standing at a crossroads, unsure of which path to take. As I lay in bed that night, I knew one thing for certain. I couldn't keep living in limbo, torn between the past and the future. It was time to make a choice, to decide what justice and revenge truly meant to me. And whatever that choice was, it had to be for Ivy and me, not for anyone else. The air was thick with tension as I prepared to face Vivian again. This time, it wasn't just about Ivy or Cole. It was about reclaiming my life from the chaos that had consumed it. I knew this confrontation would be different, more intense, and I wasn't sure I was ready for what might come. When I arrived at Vivian's house, she opened the door with an expression that was equal parts surprise and resignation. "Harper, I wasn't expecting you," she said, stepping aside to let me in. "I need to talk to you," I replied, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. We sat in her living room, the air between us crackling with unspoken tension. "I know about the trust fund," I began, watching her reaction carefully. Vivian's eyes widened slightly, but she quickly masked her surprise. "And what does that have to do with me?" "It changes everything," I said, leaning forward. "I can finally stand on my own, without relying on Cole or you." She nodded, a flicker of something, perhaps respect or regret, in her eyes. "So, what do you want from me?" "I want you to stop interfering," I replied, my voice firm. "Let me and Cole figure things out on our own." Vivian sighed, her shoulders slumping slightly. "I never meant to hurt you, Harper. I just wanted to protect my family." "By tearing us apart?" I challenged, my frustration bubbling to the surface. "I thought I was helping," she admitted, her voice softening. "I didn't realize how much damage I was doing." Her admission took me by surprise, but it wasn't enough to erase the pain of her actions. "It's time to let go, Vivian. Let Cole make his own choices." She nodded slowly, a hint of vulnerability in her eyes. "I'll try, Harper. I promise." As I left, I felt a sense of relief, but it was quickly overshadowed by the enormity of what lay ahead. The trust fund offered a way out, but it also meant making a choice I wasn't sure I was ready for. Back at home, I found Cole waiting for me, his expression a mix of hope and uncertainty. "How did it go?" he asked, his voice tentative. "She's agreed to back off," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. "That's good, right?" he said, searching my face for reassurance. "It's a start," I conceded, though the path ahead felt anything but clear. As the days passed, I threw myself into work, trying to find solace in the routine. But the weight of the decision I had to make hung over me like a dark cloud, impossible to ignore. One evening, as I was leaving the office, my phone buzzed with a message from Zoe. "We need to talk. It's important," it read, sending a shiver of apprehension down my spine. We met at our usual cafe, and I could tell from her expression that something was wrong. "What's going on?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's about Cole," Zoe said, her eyes filled with concern. "I heard he's been talking to a lawyer about custody." The words hit me like a punch to the gut, leaving me breathless with shock. "Custody?" I echoed, my mind racing. "I didn't want to believe it, but I thought you should know," Zoe explained, her voice filled with regret. The betrayal was staggering, a blow I hadn't seen coming. I felt the ground shift beneath me, the fragile stability I'd clung to crumbling away. That night, I confronted Cole, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and anger. "Is it true?" I demanded, my voice trembling. "Are you planning to take Ivy?" He hesitated, guilt written all over his face. "I was just exploring options," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "Options?" I repeated, incredulous. "You were going to take her away from me?" "I didn't know what else to do," he said, his eyes pleading for understanding. The room spun around me, the enormity of his betrayal crashing over me like a tidal wave. "I trusted you, Cole," I said, my voice breaking. "How could you do this?" "I'm sorry, Harper," he replied, his voice filled with remorse. "I didn't mean for it to get this far." But the damage was done, and as I stood there, I realized that the life I'd fought so hard to hold on to was slipping through my fingers. In that moment, I knew I had to make a choice, not just for Ivy, but for myself. The trust fund was my way out, a chance to start fresh without the weight of betrayal dragging me down. As I lay in bed that night, the tears finally came, a torrent of grief and anger that left me feeling hollow and spent. But beneath it all, a spark of determination flickered to life, a reminder that I wasn't beaten yet. I would fight for Ivy, for our future, and for the chance to reclaim my life from the ashes of what had been. It wouldn't be easy, but I was ready to face whatever came next. The air was thick with anticipation as I prepared for what felt like the final battle in a long, exhausting war. The trust fund had given me the means to stand on my own, but the real challenge lay ahead, confronting Cole and deciding the future of our family. The stakes had never been higher, and I knew this was my moment to reclaim control. I arrived at the house, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. Ivy was staying with Zoe for the weekend, giving us the space we needed to have an honest conversation without distractions. As I stepped inside, I found Cole in the living room, his expression a mix of apprehension and resignation. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. He nodded, gesturing for me to sit. "I've been thinking a lot about everything," he began, his voice heavy with emotion. "I have too," I replied, meeting his gaze. "And I've made a decision." He tensed, clearly bracing himself for the worst. "What is it?" "I'm going to use the trust fund to start fresh," I said, my words carefully measured. "I need to do this for Ivy and for myself." Cole's face fell, the weight of my decision settling over him like a shroud. "So this is it?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "It doesn't have to be," I replied, my tone softening. "But things need to change, Cole. We can't keep living like this." He nodded, a flicker of something, hope perhaps, in his eyes. "I know. I've been thinking about that too." As we talked, the tension slowly began to ease, replaced by a sense of clarity. But just as I started to think we might find a way forward, Cole's phone buzzed with a message. He glanced at it, and his expression shifted from hope to dread. "What is it?" I asked, my heart sinking. "It's my mother," he said, his voice tight. "She wants to meet. Now." I felt a surge of frustration, but I knew this was an opportunity one couldn't pass up. "Let's go," I said, determination fueling my words. We drove in silence to Vivian's house, the air between us charged with unspoken tension. When we arrived, she was waiting for us, her expression unreadable. "Thank you for coming," Vivian said, her voice unusually subdued. "We need to talk," Cole said, his tone firm but respectful. "All of us." Vivian nodded, gesturing for us to sit. "I know I've made mistakes," she began, her voice thick with emotion. "I thought I was doing what was best, but I see now that I was wrong." "Vivian, we can't keep doing this," I said, my voice steady but firm. "We need to find a way to move forward for Ivy's sake." She nodded, tears brimming in her eyes. "I just want what's best for her. I always have." "I know," I replied, my voice softening. "But we need to do this together." As we talked, the air between us slowly began to clear, the weight of past grievances lifting. It wasn't easy, but it was a start. Then, as if on cue, the unexpected twist arrived. Vivian reached for a small box on the table, handing it to me with trembling hands. "Your father gave this to me before he died," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "He wanted you to have it." I opened the box, revealing a delicate necklace with a locket. Inside was a picture of my father, smiling warmly, and a note that simply read, "For my brave Harper." The gesture was overwhelming, a reminder of the love and support I'd always had, even when I felt alone. It was a symbol of the strength I needed to carry forward, to build a life for Ivy and me that was grounded in love and resilience. As I looked up, I saw a flicker of understanding in Cole's eyes, a realization that perhaps we could find a way to coexist, if not as partners, then as co-parents. "I'm sorry, Harper," he said, his voice filled with genuine remorse. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "I know," I replied, my voice steady with newfound strength. "But we have to do better for Ivy." The conversation continued, the three of us working through the tangled web of emotions and misunderstandings that had brought us to this point. It wasn't a perfect resolution, but it was a start, a chance to rebuild, to find peace in the chaos. As I left Vivian's house, the locket resting against my heart, I felt a sense of calm I hadn't experienced in months. The path ahead was still uncertain, but I knew I had the strength to face whatever came next. I was ready to embrace the future, to create a life defined by love, resilience, and hope. The sun was setting as I walked through the park, the sky a canvas of oranges and pinks. Ivy was playing nearby, her laughter echoing through the cool evening air. Watching her, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't experienced in a long time. It was a new beginning, one I'd fought hard to reach. The past few months had been a whirlwind of change. After the confrontation with Vivian, Cole and I had come to an understanding. We were no longer partners in marriage, but we were committed to being the best co-parents possible for Ivy. It wasn't easy, but it was a start. I'd moved into a cozy apartment, the trust fund providing the stability I needed to rebuild my life. With Zoe's encouragement, I'd started writing, pouring my experiences into words that resonated with others. It was cathartic, a way to process everything I'd been through and find my voice. One afternoon, as I sat at my desk, a knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. It was Miles, a friend I'd met through Zoe. He was kind, thoughtful, and had been a source of quiet support as I navigated my new reality. "Hey," he said, a warm smile on his face. "I brought coffee." I returned his smile, grateful for his presence. "Thanks, I could use a break." We sat together, the conversation flowing easily. Miles had a way of making me feel at ease, his calm demeanor a balm to my frayed nerves. As we talked, I realized how much I valued his friendship and perhaps the possibility of something more. "Have you thought about what's next?" Miles asked, his tone gentle. I nodded, a sense of clarity settling over me. "I want to keep writing, to share my story and help others who might be going through something similar." "That sounds perfect for you," he said, his eyes filled with encouragement. "You've got a gift, Harper." His words warmed my heart, a reminder of how far I'd come. I was no longer defined by the chaos of my past, but by the strength I'd found within myself. Later, as I watched Ivy play, Cole joined me, a tentative smile on his face. "She looks happy," he said, nodding towards our daughter. "She is," I replied, feeling a sense of pride. "We did that." He nodded, a hint of regret in his eyes. "I'm sorry for everything, Harper. I wish I could change the past." "I know," I said softly, meeting his gaze, "but we can't. We can only do better moving forward." It was a moment of understanding, a silent agreement to focus on what mattered most, our daughter and her happiness. As we stood there, I realized that forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. It meant letting go, freeing myself from the weight of past betrayals. As the evening drew to a close, I felt a sense of closure. The journey had been painful, but it had also been transformative. I'd discovered my strength, my resilience, and my capacity for love, not just for others, but for myself. Yet, as I reflected on everything, a lingering question remained. What would the future hold? It was a mystery, one I was ready to embrace with open arms. Life was unpredictable, but I learned that I could face whatever came my way. As Ivy ran towards me, her face alight with joy, I scooped her up, her laughter a melody that filled my heart. In that moment, I knew I was exactly where I was meant to be, surrounded by love, hope, and the promise of new beginnings. Miles walked over, joining us with a smile that spoke volumes. It was a new chapter, one I was excited to explore. Together, we watched the sunset, a symbol of endings and beginnings, of the journey that had brought us here. The path ahead was uncertain, but I was no longer afraid. I'd found my footing, my voice, and my peace. And as the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, I knew that whatever happened next, I was ready. Ready to live, to love, and to embrace the beauty of the unknown.
The coins scattered across my kitchen counter told a story, one of sacrifice, stupidity, and what happens when you let guilt become your compass. I counted them methodically, sorting quarters from nickels, determined to scrape together enough for tomorrow's grocery run. My phone buzzed again, the 5th time Mom had called today. I let it ring. "My name is Summer, and I've been paying my parents' mortgage for 10 years. Not by choice exactly. More like a temporary fix that became a permanent prison. The irony? I can barely afford my own rent." The phone buzzed again. This time a text. "Summer? Answer now. It's about Riley." Of course it was. Everything was always about Riley. I picked up on the next ring. "Mom? Finally. Why haven't you been answering? Never mind. You'll never guess what happened." Her voice bubbled with the special excitement she reserved exclusively for Riley-related news. I braced myself, continuing to stack quarters. What happened? Riley's engaged. Bodhi proposed last night at that rooftop restaurant. You know, the one with the crystal chandeliers? He had a string quartet and everything. The quarter in my hand slipped, clattering to the floor. That's wonderful, I managed. We're having a family dinner tonight to celebrate. 7 o'clock sharp at La Maison. Don't be late. I glanced at my sad pile of coins. La Maison meant at least $50 per plate. Mom, I can't. Don't start, Summer. This is your sister's engagement. You're coming. Before I could protest, she continued. Oh, and we need to discuss the wedding budget. Your father and I have been talking, and since you're the practical one with all that financial knowledge... My stomach dropped. Mom, it's just $50,000. That's nothing for someone as responsible as you. You've always been so good with money. The room started spinning. $50,000? Well, obviously, that barely covers the basics these days. Riley deserves her dream wedding, doesn't she? After all, she's your only sister. I looked around my cramped apartment, at the second-hand furniture, the peeling wallpaper, the stack of unpaid medical bills on my desk. 10 years of paying their mortgage meant 10 years of putting my life on hold. No savings, no house of my own, no future. I'll see you at dinner, I said quietly, hanging up before she could respond. My phone immediately pinged with a text from Riley. OMG sis, can't wait to see you tonight. Already found the perfect venue. Attached was a photo of what looked like a castle, complete with sprawling gardens and a lake view, because of course it was. I opened my banking app, checking my balance. The mortgage payment was due tomorrow, $2,100, same as always. The remaining balance would barely cover my own rent. My best friend Sylvia's contact photo popped up on my screen. I answered, grateful for the distraction. Hey, how's my favorite human calculator? She chirped. Remember when we were kids and thought being good at math would make us rich? Uh-oh, what happened? I laughed, but it came out hollow. Riley's engaged. They want me to pay for the wedding. They what? Sylvia's voice rose an octave. After everything you've already... $50,000. Tell them to go fuck themselves. If only it were that simple. I have to go to a celebration dinner tonight. At La Maison. With what money? The coins you've been saving for groceries? I glanced at my pathetic pile. Maybe I can sell a kidney. Summer. Sylvia's voice turned serious. You have to stop this. You're killing yourself trying to keep them afloat while Riley posts Instagram stories from 5-star hotels. I know. I did know. I'd known for years. Then why? Because they're family, I said automatically, the same answer I'd given for a decade. Sylvia sighed. Family doesn't treat family like an ATM. My phone buzzed with another text from Mom. Wear something nice tonight, not those discount store clothes. I stared at the message, something sharp and angry finally crystallizing in my chest. 10 years of sacrifice, and they still weren't satisfied. They'd never be satisfied. I have to go, I told Sylvia. Need to find something nice to wear to dinner. Summer, please. I'll call you later. I hung up and looked at my banking app again. The mortgage payment sat there, scheduled for tomorrow, same as always. My finger hovered over the cancel payment button, but I couldn't do it. Not yet. Instead, I grabbed my keys and headed out to face another dinner where I'd smile and nod and probably agree to everything they asked for, because that's what the practical one does, right? La Maison's crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead as I smoothed down my only nice dress, a black cocktail number I'd bought 3 years ago for a work function. Riley was already holding court at the center of the table, her perfectly manicured hand extended to show off an engagement ring that probably cost more than my annual rent. Summer! Mom waved me over, her smile tight. You're late. Traffic, I muttered, sliding into the only empty seat, directly across from Riley and her fiancé Bodhi. We already ordered appetizers, Riley announced, not looking up from her phone. And champagne. The good kind, obviously. Dad cleared his throat. Speaking of which, he raised his glass. To my beautiful daughter and her equally wonderful fiancé. May your future be as bright as that diamond. Everyone clinked glasses. I took a small sip, mentally calculating the cost of the good kind of champagne multiplied by 6 people. So, Riley leaned forward, her eyes sparkling. I've already found the perfect venue. It's this gorgeous estate with... The one with the lake, I interrupted. You saw my post. Isn't it amazing? They only do 10 weddings a year, so we had to book fast. Mom and Dad already put down the deposit. I nearly choked on my champagne. You what? Well, we couldn't risk losing it, Mom said quickly. It's perfect for Riley's vision. And how much was this non-refundable deposit? 10,000, Dad replied casually, as if announcing the time. But that comes off the total wedding budget, of course. My hands started shaking under the table. The budget you expect me to provide, now, Summer. Mum's voice took on that familiar patronizing tone. We've always known you're the responsible one, the planner, while Riley has other gifts. Like being your favorite? The words slipped out before I could stop them. Riley's perfect smile faltered. Don't be bitter just because I'm getting married first. It's not my fault you're still single. Riley, Bodhi touched her arm, looking uncomfortable. It was the first time he'd moved since I arrived. Maybe we should... No, let's talk about this, I said, pushing my untouched plate aside. Let's talk about how I've been paying your mortgage for 10 years while Riley jets off to Bali and posts about living her best life. Dead silence fell over the table. Even the nearby diners seemed to pause. That was a family agreement, Dad said stiffly. After my accident, it was supposed to be temporary. 3 months, you said. Just until you got back on your feet. We're family, Mom hissed, leaning forward. Family helps each other. Really? Because I don't see Riley helping anyone but herself. Riley's face flushed red. You've always been jealous of me, just because you chose to be boring and responsible. I didn't choose anything. I was told it was my duty, my obligation, while you got everything handed to you on a silver platter. Ladies, the waiter appeared, looking nervous. Perhaps we could... Bring the check, I said, standing up. Split it 6 ways. Mom's eyes widened. Summer, sit down. You're making a scene. No, I'm finally speaking up. 10 years of my life gone. My savings, gone. My chances of buying my own home, gone. And now you want 50,000 more? You've always been good with money, Riley said, her voice dripping with condescension. It's literally the only thing you're better at than me. So worry about this wedding, and let me handle being the star. The room went very quiet, very still. You're right, I said softly. I am good with money, which is why I know exactly how much you all owe me. 10 years of mortgage payments, with interest. Dad's face turned purple. Now listen here. No, you listen. I'm done. Find another ATM for Riley's fairy tale wedding. I quit. I turned to leave, but Mum grabbed my wrist. If you walk out that door, don't bother coming back. I looked at her hand, then at her face. This woman who had manipulated me for a decade under the guise of maternal love. That's the first honest thing you've said to me in years. I pulled free and walked out, ignoring Riley's dramatic gasp and Mom's calls behind me. In the parking lot, my phone buzzed with the automated reminder, mortgage payments scheduled for tomorrow. With trembling fingers, I opened the app, stared at the payment screen. 10 years of obligation stared back. Cancel payment? The screen asked. For the first time in a decade, I pressed yes. And somewhere deep inside, something that had been bound in chains finally broke free. The morning after the dinner disaster, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. 15 missed calls, 37 text messages, 3 voicemails, all from Mum, each more hysterical than the last. I ignored them all and went to work. "You look different," Sylvia said, peering at me over her coffee cup as I settled at my desk. "Like you finally got that stick out of your—" "I canceled the mortgage payment." She spat coffee across her keyboard. "Holy shit, you actually did it?" "And told them I wouldn't pay for the wedding." "Double holy shit!" She wheeled her chair closer. "What happened?" Before I could answer, a familiar face appeared in our cubicle doorway. Noah Moore, my childhood neighbor turned corporate IT guy, was leaning against the frame with his usual easy smile. "Computer troubles?" he asked. "Life troubles," Sylvia replied, gesturing at her coffee-splattered keyboard. "But while you're here—" As Noah cleaned up Sylvia's mess, I pulled up my email. Another message from Dad. "Your mother is beside herself. Call immediately." Delete. "So," Noah said, finishing with the keyboard. "Life troubles?" "Summer finally grew a spine," Sylvia announced proudly. "Tell him." I hesitated. Noah and I had grown up next door to each other, had watched each other's lives unfold from opposite sides of a fence. He'd seen firsthand how my parents operated. "I stopped paying their mortgage," I said quietly. He straightened up. "About damn time." "You knew?" Sylvia demanded. "Everyone in the neighborhood knew," Noah replied. "We watched Summer work 3 jobs in college while Riley got a new car for her sweet 16. My phone buzzed again. Riley this time. "Mom's crying because of you. Again. Why do you always have to ruin everything?" I turned the phone face down. "Hey." Noah touched my shoulder. "Remember what your grandmother used to say? Family's supposed to lift you, not leash you," I quoted automatically. The memory of Grandma Lorelei hit hard. She'd been the only one who ever stood up to my parents. "Smart woman," Sylvia said. "What else did she say?" "A lot." I opened my desk drawer, pulling out the folder where I kept important documents. "She left me a letter before she died, but I never opened it. Said not to until I was ready to face the truth about family. And are you ready now?" I stared at the sealed envelope. "Maybe." "Open it," Noah encouraged. "What's the worst that could happen?" As I broke the seal, another document caught my eye. An old bank statement I'd filed away. Something about the numbers didn't look right. I pulled it out, scanning the details. My blood ran cold. "What?" Sylvia and Noah asked simultaneously. "These payments, they're not just for the mortgage." My hands started shaking. "There's a second loan here, co-signed by Riley." Noah leaned over my shoulder. "When was this taken out?" 3 years ago. The same time Riley had started her influencer career. The same time my parents had insisted on increasing my monthly payments for property taxes. "They used your money to cover Riley's loan." Sylvia's voice rose in outrage. "Not just that." I dug deeper into the folder. "They used me as a backup plan. Every time Riley overspent, every time she needed bailing out." "It came from your payments," Noah finished, his face darkening. "Those bastards." My phone buzzed again. A text from Mom. "The mortgage payment didn't go through. Fix it now." For the first time, I saw the message for what it was. Not a mother's concern, but a manipulator's demand. "I need to go home," I said suddenly. "I need to check something." "Want company?" Noah offered. I nodded, grateful. "Both of you?" 20 minutes later, we were in my apartment, surrounded by a decade's worth of financial documents. Every statement, every receipt, every transfer, laid bare on my living room floor. Jesus, Sylvia whispered, holding up a bank statement. They've been double-dipping for years, using your payments to cover both the mortgage and Riley's expenses. Look at these credit card statements, Noah added. All these charges, luxury hotels, designer clothes, first-class flights, they're all in Riley's name, but the payments came from your account. My phone kept buzzing. I kept ignoring it. What are you going to do? Sylvia asked softly. I picked up Grandma Lorelei's letter, still unopened. I'm going to read this. Then I'm going to make some calls. To your parents? No. I met their concerned gazes with steel in my voice. To a lawyer. The letter felt heavy in my hands, like it contained more than just paper, like it held answers I'd been too afraid to seek. Whatever's in there, Noah said quietly. We're right here. I took a deep breath and broke the seal, unfolding what would turn out to be my grandmother's final gift and my key to freedom. Congratulations, the realtor beamed, handing me the keys. The house is yours. I stood in the empty living room of my new home, my very own home, running my fingers along the freshly painted walls. It wasn't much, a modest 2-bedroom with a small yard, but it was mine. Every square inch belonged to me. My phone buzzed. For once, it wasn't my family. It was Noah. Did you get the keys? Just now. I couldn't keep the smile out of my voice. Want to see it? Already outside, I opened the front door to find him holding a bottle of champagne and 2 plastic cups. First house celebration? Absolutely. We sat on the floor of my empty living room, sharing cheap champagne and watching sunlight stream through windows that needed washing. Have they figured it out yet? He asked carefully. That I'm not coming back? No. I took another sip. They're still sending wedding vendor invoices like nothing happened. As if on cue, my email notification pinged. From Dad, subject line, urgent. Don't, Noah warned, but I was already opening it. Inside was a detailed billing schedule for Riley's honeymoon, a month-long tour of Europe's finest hotels. The total made my eyes water. We'll reimburse you later, Dad's note read. Family takes care of family. Something snapped inside me. After everything, the letter from Grandma Lorelei revealing the truth about the house's ownership, the decade of financial manipulation, the endless demands, they were still treating me like their personal bank. I hit reply. This isn't my problem. I'm done funding her fantasy. Sent, I announced, clinking my plastic cup against Noah's. To boundaries. To boundaries, he echoed. And to your grandmother's excellent timing. We both glanced at Grandma Lorelei's letter, now framed on my otherwise empty wall. Her words had changed everything. The house was never meant to be their playground. I left my half to you, Summer, because you were the only one who understood its value. They can't sell or borrow against it without your signature. Remember that when the time comes to choose between their comfort and your freedom. My phone rang. Mom's name flashed on the screen. Speaker, Noah suggested. I want to hear this. I answered. Mom's voice exploded through the speaker. How dare you speak to your father that way, after everything we've done for you? Everything you've done for me? I laughed. Like using my mortgage payments to cover Riley's shopping sprees. Silence. Then, we did what we had to do. Riley has special needs. Yeah, the need for designer handbags and 5-star hotels. You've always been jealous of her success. What success? Being an influencer while living off my money? You ungrateful little... Mom's voice turned venomous. You always were just an accident with a checkbook. The words hung in the air like poison. Noah reached for my phone, but I beat him to it. Thanks for finally being honest, Mom. I've got some honesty for you, too. I'm not paying for the wedding. I'm not paying for the honeymoon. and I'm definitely not paying your mortgage anymore. You can't do this to us. Watch me. I hung up and blocked her number, then Dad's, then Riley's. Noah was watching me with a mixture of pride and concern. You okay? Better than okay. I stood up, walking to the window. I'm free. My phone pinged with one final email notification. Riley had posted a new Instagram story, a video of her crying, captioning it, "When your own sister betrays you." The comments were already flowing in, her followers demanding details. Should we tell them the truth? Noah asked, reading over my shoulder. Not yet. I closed the app. Let them dig their own grave first. We spent the rest of the afternoon making plans for furniture shopping, picking paint colors, and imagining what this house could become. As the sun set, casting long shadows across my empty floors, Noah helped me hang up a home sweet home sign Sylvia had given me as a housewarming gift. Hey, he said softly. Remember when we were kids and you used to climb over the fence to escape your parents fighting? I nodded. You'd always leave your window unlocked for me. Well, he gestured to my new house, now you have your own escape, no climbing required. My phone had finally gone quiet. Somewhere across town, my parents were probably panicking about next month's mortgage payment. Riley was probably filming more tearful Instagram stories. Their carefully constructed house of cards was beginning to crumble. But here, in my own home, with my own keys, and my own life stretching out before me, I felt nothing but peace. Want to help me paint this weekend? I asked Noah. He smiled. Wouldn't miss it for the world. For the first time in forever, I was exactly where I wanted to be, and exactly who I wanted to be. No guilt, no obligations, just freedom, and it felt absolutely perfect. The rehearsal dinner invitation arrived like a declaration of war. Cream-colored paper, gold embossing, and my name conspicuously absent from the guest list. Riley was making a statement. Too bad I had a bigger one planned. You don't have to do this, Noah said, watching me adjust my dress in his car's rearview mirror. We were parked outside the restaurant, the same one where everything had imploded a month ago. Yes, I do. I pulled out the manila folder I'd prepared. They need to see exactly what they've done. Want backup? I squeezed his hand. Wait here? Inside, the private dining room buzzed with conversation. I spotted Riley holding court at the head table, Bodhi beside her, looking increasingly uncomfortable. My parents were working the room like politicians, all smiles and champagne toasts. Summer? Bodhi noticed me first, his eyes widening. I didn't think... She wasn't invited, Riley snapped, standing up. Security! Sit down, Riley, I said quietly. Unless you want everyone here to know about the credit card fraud. The color drained from her face. What are you talking about? Outside. Now. To my surprise, she followed me into the hallway. Mom started to intervene, but Dad held her back, watching us with wary eyes. Make it quick, Riley hissed. I have guests. Here. I handed her the folder. Everything's in there. The second mortgage, the credit cards, the loans they took out in your name. Her hands trembled as she flipped through the pages. This isn't... They wouldn't... They did. And they used my mortgage payments to cover it up. You're drowning in debt, Riley. Debt you don't even know about. You're lying. But her voice cracked. They would have told me. Like they told me they were using my money to fund your Instagram lifestyle? Bodhi appeared in the hallway. Everything okay out here? Show him. I nodded at the folder. Show him what you're really marrying into. Riley clutched the folder to her chest. Bodhi, don't... Is this why your parents insisted I sign those pre-wedding financial documents? He asked slowly. The ones about shared debt responsibility? Riley's face crumpled. I didn't know. Of course you didn't. I felt oddly calm. You were too busy winning. What? That's what this wedding was really about, right? Showing everyone how you won at life while boring, responsible Summer lost? She flinched. I never... Save it. I turned to Bodhi. Those documents they want you to sign? They'll make you legally responsible for all of this. I gestured at the folder. Every loan, every credit card, every lie. Think carefully about whether she's worth it. Mom burst into the hallway. What is going on out here? Riley, honey, your guests. Did you know? Riley's voice was small. About the loans? Mom froze. Dad appeared behind her, his face ashen. Riley, sweetheart, we can explain. Did you know? Riley's voice rose to a shriek. The folder fell, papers scattering across the floor like evidence at a crime scene. Bodhi knelt to pick one up. His eyes widened as he read. This is fraud. It's family business, Dad snapped. Stay out of it. Family? I laughed. Is that what you call this? Riley was still staring at the papers, at the years of financial manipulation laid bare. All this time? Summer was paying for everything? We did what we had to do, Mom insisted. To maintain our standard of living. To maintain your lies, I corrected. And now they're all coming out. Bodhi stood up slowly, gathering the papers. I need time to think about this. Bodhi, please. Riley reached for him, but he stepped back. I'll call you tomorrow. He walked away, taking the folder with him. Riley turned on me, tears streaking her perfect makeup. You've ruined everything. This was supposed to be my perfect moment, my chance to show everyone. That you won? I finished softly. Congratulations, Riley. You won a house of cards and now it's falling down. I left her there, sobbing in the hallway while our parents tried desperately to damage control. In the parking lot, Noah was waiting, concern etched on his face. How did it go? Through the restaurant windows, I could see chaos unfolding. Guests were leaving. Riley was having a meltdown. Mom was trying to salvage the evening while Dad made frantic phone calls. It went exactly as planned. I got into the car. Take me home. As we drove away, my phone lit up with a text from Bodhi. Thank you for telling me the truth. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The truth was finally doing what I never could, setting everyone free, whether they wanted it or not. You know they'll retaliate, Noah said quietly. I smiled, thinking of Grandma Lorelei's letter and the legal bombshell still to come. Let them try. The morning sun streamed through my kitchen window as I made coffee in my own home. On my own terms. 3 weeks had passed since the rehearsal dinner disaster. 3 weeks of blessed silence. My doorbell rang. Sylvia and Noah stood outside, carrying bags of groceries. First official dinner party? Sylvia grinned, holding up a bottle of wine. As long as you're both cooking, I laughed, letting them in. Unless you want food poisoning. We settled into an easy rhythm, Sylvia chopping vegetables, Noah handling the pasta, me setting the table with my newly purchased dinnerware. Everything in this house was mine, bought with my own money, no strings attached. Have you heard anything? Sylvia asked, sliding vegetables into a pan. Radio silence. Even Riley's Instagram has been quiet. That's a first, Noah commented, stirring the sauce. No more crying selfies? Nope. And the wedding's been postponed indefinitely. Bodhi moved out last week. Sylvia whistled. Karma's finally showing up to work. My phone rang, shattering our peaceful moment. Mom's number flashed on the screen. Don't, Noah started, but I was already answering. Summer! Mom's voice was hysterical. We got a notice from the bank. They're saying foreclosure. The wooden spoon in Noah's hand clattered to the counter. Sylvia froze mid-chop. I know, I said calmly. You... What? I know about the foreclosure notice. I've known for weeks. Silence crackled over the line. Then, "What did you do?" "Nothing. I just stopped preventing the inevitable." "They're taking the house." She was sobbing now. "Your father's childhood home. How could you let this happen? The same way you let me sacrifice 10 years of my life. We're your parents, and I'm your daughter, not your ATM." More silence. Then Dad's voice. "Summer, listen to me. We can fix this. Just help us with this month's payment and we'll—" "No. No?" His voice turned hard. "After everything we've done for you?" "Done for me?" I laughed. "You mean done to me? You ungrateful little—" I hung up, blocked their numbers, again. Sylvia and Noah were watching me with a mixture of concern and pride. "You okay?" Noah asked softly. Before I could answer, my phone pinged with an Instagram notification. Riley had finally broken her silence with a new post, a selfie from a luxury hotel suite, caption reading, "Living fabulously, despite the haters." "Is she serious?" Sylvia peered at my screen. "Their house is being foreclosed and she's at a hotel?" I scrolled through the comments. They were not kind. "How are they affording hotels when they're bankrupt? Didn't your wedding get cancelled because of money issues? Maybe pay your mortgage instead of posting fake flex pics." The truth was unraveling in real time, one angry comment at a time. "Dinner's ready," Noah announced, pulling me away from the drama. "Let's celebrate your freedom instead of watching their downfall." We sat around my new dining table, eating pasta and drinking wine, laughing about nothing and everything. Through the window, I could see my small backyard where Noah had helped me plant a garden last weekend. On the wall hung photos of my new life, my house keys, my first mortgage statement, my friends helping me move in. My phone kept lighting up with notifications as Riley's post went viral for all the wrong reasons. People were connecting dots, sharing stories, exposing years of financial manipulation. "You didn't even have to say anything," Sylvia marveled, reading the comments. "They're destroying themselves." "Karma isn't a sledgehammer," I said, remembering Grandma Lorelei's words. "It's a mirror. Eventually, everyone has to face their own reflection." Noah raised his glass. "To karma? To freedom," I corrected, clinking glasses with my real family, the one I chose. Later that night, after Sylvia and Noah left, I sat on my porch watching the stars. My phone lit up one last time, a text from Riley. "I hope you're happy. You've destroyed everything." I typed back, "No, Riley. You did that all on your own." Then I turned off my phone, locked my door, my lock, my key, and went to bed in my own house, in my own life, finally free from the weight of other people's expectations. Tomorrow would bring more drama, more fallout, more consequences. But for tonight, I had pasta leftovers in my fridge, flowers growing in my garden, and peace in my heart. And that was worth more than all the mortgage payments in the world. The lawyer's office was colder than I expected, all glass and steel and expensive silence. Mr. Patterson adjusted his glasses, reviewing Grandma Lorelei's documents one last time. "Well," he said finally, "your grandmother was quite thorough." "Meaning?" "Meaning she knew exactly what your parents would do, and she prepared accordingly." He pulled out a thick folder. The house wasn't just split ownership. She put specific conditions in place. Noah squeezed my hand under the table as the lawyer continued. "Your parents could only maintain their half of ownership if they kept the property free of additional liens or mortgages. The moment they took out that second mortgage without your knowledge, they violated the terms," I finished. "Exactly. Which means full ownership reverts to you." He slid a document across the desk. "You can do whatever you want with it." My phone buzzed. Another hysterical voicemail from Mom about the foreclosure. I ignored it. "What are my options?" You could keep it, sell it, or... He paused meaningfully. Let the bank take it. The weight of that power settled over me. 10 years of payments, of sacrifice, of manipulation, all leading to this moment. There's one more thing, Patterson added, pulling out an envelope. This just cleared probate. Your grandmother left specific instructions for it to be delivered now. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a letter, written in Grandma Lorelei's familiar scrawl. My dearest Summer, if you're reading this, you've finally learned to put yourself first. Good. Now listen carefully. That house was meant to be your inheritance, your safety net, your fresh start. Instead, they turned it into your prison. They used your love against you, your sense of duty against you, your kindness against you. But you're stronger than their manipulation, smarter than their schemes. And now, you have the power to end it. Don't let guilt stop you. Don't let their tears manipulate you. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do for others is to let them face the consequences of their actions. I love you, my brave girl. Choose yourself. Love, Grandma. A tear splashed onto the paper. Noah's arm went around my shoulders. What do you want to do? He asked softly. Before I could answer, my phone rang. Dad's number, from a new account. Summer, please, he begged when I answered. The bank's moving forward with foreclosure. We'll be homeless. No, you won't. You'll just have to live within your means for once. We can fix this. We'll sign whatever you want. That's the problem, Dad. You've been signing things you shouldn't for years. Using my money to cover Riley's debts. Taking out loans you couldn't afford. We did it for the family. No, I said firmly. You did it for yourselves. I hung up and turned to the lawyer. What do I need to sign? An hour later, it was done. I'd signed away my claim to the house, allowing the bank's foreclosure to proceed. No more fighting it. No more fixing it. No more enabling their financial disasters. As we left the office, my phone exploded with notifications. Riley had gone nuclear on social media, posting screenshots of text conversations, bank statements, everything, trying to paint herself as the victim. But the comments weren't on her side. Wait, your sister paid your parents' mortgage for 10 years while you lived luxury. So you knew they were using her money to fund your lifestyle. No wonder your fiancé left. Don't read those, Noah said, taking my phone. Let's go home. But we only made it halfway to the car before I saw them, my parents, standing by my car, looking defeated. Summer? Mum stepped forward. Please. How did you find me? Riley saw you come in. Dad wouldn't meet my eyes. We had to try one last time. It's over, I said quietly. The house is going to foreclosure. I've signed the papers. You can't do this to us. Mom's voice rose hysterically. We're your parents. Yes, you are. And you taught me my final lesson. Sometimes love means walking away. They stood there, speechless for the first time in my life, as I got into my car. Noah took the driver's seat, starting the engine. Through the rearview mirror, I watched my parents grow smaller, their empire of lies crumbling around them. My phone lit up with one final text from Riley. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed this family. I typed back, No, Riley. The family was destroyed long ago. I just stopped pretending it wasn't. Then I turned off my phone, leaned back in my seat, and let Noah drive me home. To my house, my life, my future. Sometimes karma doesn't come when you deserve it. It comes when you're finally ready to let go. The morning sun warmed my face as I tended to my garden, pulling weeds and checking on the tomatoes Noah had helped me plant. A familiar rumble drew my attention to the street. A moving truck, parking in front of my old family home. I straightened up, watching as workers began emptying the house. The foreclosure was finally happening. My phone buzzed, a text from Sylvia. Are you watching? Yes, I replied. Want company? Already have some, I texted back, as Noah appeared with 2 cups of coffee, handing me one. We stood in my garden, watching silently as years of accumulated possessions emerged from the house. Designer furniture, expensive artwork, Riley's childhood trophies, Mom's precious china collection. Summer? I turned to find Bodhi standing at my garden gate, looking uncomfortable. Hey, I said carefully. Didn't expect to see you here. I came to return this. He held out a small velvet box, Riley's engagement ring. And to say thank you. For what? For saving me from making a huge mistake. He glanced at the moving truck. I checked the documents you showed me. Called off the wedding just in time. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it. Don't be. Better to know now than after signing those papers. He hesitated. Have you heard from them? Not since the lawyer's office. A car screeched around the corner, Riley's red convertible. She jumped out, running toward the moving truck. Stop! You can't take those things. They're ours. The workers ignored her, continuing their work. Mum and Dad weren't far behind, pulling up in their luxury SUV that they somehow still hadn't sold. Summer? Mom spotted me in my garden. Are you happy now? Looking at your handiwork? This isn't my handiwork, I called back calmly. This is yours. All of it. Riley spun around, finally noticing Bodhi. Her face crumpled. Baby, please. Save it, he said quietly. I came to return this. He set the ring box on the sidewalk and walked away without looking back. Riley's scream of rage echoed down the street. This is all your fault! She stormed toward my gate. You couldn't stand seeing me happy. Happy? I laughed. Riley, you were never happy. You were just better at pretending. Girls, please. Dad stepped forward. We can still fix this. No, I cut him off. We can't, and that's okay. Okay? Mom's voice rose. How is any of this okay? I gestured to my house, my garden, my life. Because I'm okay. For the first time in my life, I'm actually okay. Riley lunged forward, but Noah stepped between us. That's close enough. Oh, look who finally got a boyfriend, she sneered. Took you long enough. Actually, Noah smiled, taking my hand. I got a partner. Someone who knows her worth and isn't afraid to show it. The moving truck's engine started up. Mum made one last desperate attempt. Summer, please. We're still your family. No, I said softly. You're just people I used to know. I turned away, walking back to my garden. Behind me, I heard Riley's sobs, Mum's pleas, Dad's angry mutters, but they felt distant, like echoes from another life. Noah followed me to my tomato plants. You okay? Better than okay. I picked up my gardening tools. Help me with these weeds? We worked in comfortable silence while the drama played out behind us. Eventually, the moving truck pulled away. The luxury SUV followed. Riley's convertible screeched off last, leaving only tire marks and echoing silence. I stood up, brushing dirt from my knees, and looked at my former home. Empty now, like it should have been years ago. What now? Noah asked. Now? I smiled. Now I live my life. I walked to my front door, my door, with my name on the mailbox, and turned the key. Inside, sunlight streamed through windows I'd washed myself. Photos of real moments hung on walls I'd painted. Bills I could afford sat neatly on a desk I'd bought with my own money. Noah wrapped his arms around me from behind. Welcome home. I am home, I said, and finally felt the truth of it. I've been home since I chose me. Outside, the garden waited for attention. Inside, dinner needed cooking. Life went on. Simpler, cleaner, honest. I closed the door on the past and turned toward my future. Because that's what choosing yourself means, not just closing doors, but opening new ones. And this door, it had my name on it. Just mine. And that was everything.
The call came at 3 a.m., jolting me from a fitful sleep. My sister's sobs crackled through the speaker, nearly unintelligible. Ren, everything's falling apart. The wedding. I need you. I'm Ren, and the last time I heard my sister Kylie cry like this was 3 years ago, the night I walked away from our family, the night I refused to help our mother destroy another wedding. Slow down, Kai. What happened? I pressed my phone closer to my ear, already knowing I'd regret asking. The venue double-booked, the florist quit, and half the guests are arriving a week early because someone sent out the wrong date. Her voice cracked. Mum's having a meltdown, and Sawyer's family is threatening to call it off. Of course Mother was having a meltdown. Perfection was her brand, and this wedding was supposed to be her crowning achievement. The irony wasn't lost on me. She'd tried to sabotage our cousin Jasmine's wedding through me, and now Karma was serving up her own daughter's special day on a platter of chaos. Please, Kylie whispered. I know we haven't talked, but you're the only one who can fix this. You're the best wedding planner in the city. I sat up, switching on my bedside lamp. The framed photo of Jasmine's wedding caught my eye, the one wedding Mother couldn't ruin thanks to my refusal to play along. It had cost me everything, my family, my inheritance, my home. But it had given me something better, my integrity and eventually my success. Kylie, does Mother know you're calling me? A pause. She's the one who suggested it. I laughed, the sound harsh in the quiet room. Wow, she must be desperate. We all are. Please, Ren. I'm getting married in 10 days. I closed my eyes, remembering the day Mother had called me into her study. The heavy oak desk, the family photos arranged just so, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against the polished wood as she outlined her plan to ruin Jasmine's wedding. She's marrying beneath us, Mother had said. It's your duty to help me stop this embarrassment. I'd walked out that night with nothing but my car keys and the clothes on my back. Lily, my best friend, had taken me in, helped me build my wedding planning business from scratch. Now, 3 years later, I had a waiting list 6 months long and a reputation for turning disaster into perfection. Ren? Kylie's voice pulled me back. Are you still there? I reached for my laptop. Text me the details. All of them. I'll be there tomorrow morning. Really? The hope in her voice made my chest ache. But what about, I'm not doing this for Mother, I cut in. I'm doing it for you. And Kylie, tell her to stay out of my way. After hanging up, I called Lily. She answered on the first ring because that's who she is, my rock, my voice of reason, my partner in creating perfect weddings. You're not going to believe this, I started. Try me. I could hear her shuffling papers, probably already at the office despite the ungodly hour. As I explained the situation, Lily's silence grew heavier. You know this is a trap, right? She finally said. Your mother doesn't just suddenly forgive and forget. Oh, I know. I pulled up my calendar already, rearranging appointments. But this time, I'm not the desperate 25-year-old she can manipulate. This time, I'm the professional she needs. And you're not planning any payback? I thought about Mother's face when she told me I was dead to her. About the Christmas cards returned unopened, the blocked phone numbers, the carefully crafted rumors about my unstable behavior that had nearly tanked my business before it started. Revenge isn't my style, I said, but we both heard the smile in my voice. I'm just going to do what I do best, create the perfect wedding. And if Mother happens to learn some lessons about karma along the way, well, that's just an unfortunate coincidence. Lily laughed. Want me to clear my schedule too? Please. Something tells me we're going to need all hands on deck for this one. I glanced at the clock. 3:47 a.m. In a few hours, I'd be walking back into my childhood home, facing the woman who'd tried to destroy me, all while planning my baby sister's wedding. Send me the address, Lily said. I'll bring coffee. As I hung up, my phone buzzed with Kylie's text. A novel of wedding details, each one worse than the last. I started making lists, my mind already solving problems, creating contingencies. Mother wanted my help? Fine. She was about to learn exactly what I was capable of. And this time, I'd be playing by my own rules. The familiar iron gates of my childhood home loomed before me, just as imposing as I remembered. Lily pulled up behind my car, 2 coffee cups balanced precariously in her hands as she approached. "Ready for this?" she asked, handing me one. Before I could answer, the front door burst open. Kylie flew down the steps, her designer pajamas wrinkled, her eyes red from crying. She stopped short of hugging me, uncertainty written across her face. "You came," she whispered. "I said I would." I gestured to Lily. "This is my assistant and best friend. She's the real miracle worker." The moment shattered as Mother's voice cut through the morning air. "Well, if it isn't the prodigal daughter." She stood in the doorway, perfectly coiffed despite the early hour. "I trust you've brought some solutions rather than more problems." "Nice to see you too, Mother." I strode past her into the house, Lily close behind. "Where's your office? We need to assess the damage." The house hadn't changed, still a museum of carefully curated family photos, though I noticed mine had all disappeared. Mother led us to her study, where papers covered her usually pristine desk. "The venue called last night," she said, her voice clipped. "They're claiming we confirmed for the 17th, not the 24th. I picked up the contract, scanning quickly. "Because you did. Look at the signature date." "Impossible. I would never—" "You signed this on March 3rd, the day of your charity luncheon." I pulled out my phone, showing her the social media post. "You were distracted, happens to the best of us." Mother's face tightened. "Fix it." "I already have." I pulled up my emails. "I called in a favour. The Rosewood Gardens had a cancellation. It's actually an upgrade. Better views, better layout, and they can accommodate us next weekend." "The Rosewood?" Kylie gasped. "But that's impossible to book. The owner's daughter was my first client." I didn't mention that I'd gotten that client specifically because Mother had blacklisted me from all the usual venues. "Now, about the florist?" "She's being completely unreasonable," Mother huffed, "demanding full payment up front. Because you threatened to sue her over the colour of the peonies being slightly off," Lily cut in, reading from her tablet. "I have the email chain." I rubbed my temples. "Right. Lily, call Sophia at Bloom & Wild. Tell her we need the full package and I'll owe her one." "Already texted her. She's in." "The guests?" Kylie asked timidly. "I've booked blocks at 3 hotels," I said. "We'll need to arrange some activities for the early arrivals. Lily, can you—" "Already on it. Wine tour on Tuesday. Spa day Wednesday. Cooking class Thursday." Mother's lips pressed into a thin line. "You seem to have everything under control. I suppose I should be grateful." "No need for gratitude. I'm not doing this for you." I turned to Kylie. "Where's Sawyer? We need to go over the new timeline with both of you." "He's avoiding Mom," Kylie admitted. "After the florist incident, his parents suggested postponing." "No one is postponing anything," Mother snapped. "The grants may be new money, but they can't—" "Mother," I cut in sharply, "maybe take a break. Lily and I need to work." To my surprise, she left, though not without a pointed glare. As soon as the door closed, Kylie collapsed into a chair. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "Everything was fine until last week, then it all just exploded." Something in her tone made me look up. "What do you mean, until last week?" "Well," Kylie glanced at the door. "Mom got this weird call. I only heard part of it, but she was really upset. The next day, everything started going wrong." I shared a look with Lily. Interesting timing. "There's something else," Kylie said, leaning forward. "I found this in Mom's trash." She pulled out a crumpled note. The handwriting was familiar. Too familiar. "Is that Ruby's handwriting?" I asked, remembering Mother's old friend who'd helped scheme against Jasmine's wedding. Kylie nodded. "It just says payment due and today's date." I pocketed the note, mind racing. "Kylie, I need you to tell me everything that happened after that phone call. Every detail." As she talked, pieces started falling into place. Mother's sudden desperation to hire me, the suspicious timing of the disasters. Ruby's note. Lily, I said quietly, add Ruby to your research list. Already on it, boss. I turned back to Kylie, who was watching me with worried eyes. Don't worry, your wedding will be perfect. How can you be so sure? I smiled, thinking of the note in my pocket. Because this time, I know exactly what game Mother's playing. And she's not the only one who knows how to play it. From somewhere in the house, I heard Mother's voice rising in another phone call. Whatever she was planning, whatever game she was playing, she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd invited me back into the house. Your mother hasn't changed a bit, Peter said, sliding a coffee across the cafe table to me. My cousin Jasmine's husband had agreed to meet me during his lunch break, and his insider perspective was exactly what I needed. Still the same dragon lady, I agreed. But something's different this time. She's scared. Peter leaned forward, lowering his voice. Ruby's been asking about you, you know. Coming around to family events, dropping your name into conversations. Ruby, I set my coffee down. The same Ruby who helped Mother try to ruin your wedding. The very same. He pulled out his phone, showing me a series of texts. She wanted to know if Jasmine and I were attending Kylie's wedding. Got really pushy about it. I scrolled through the messages, noting the desperate tone. When did these start? Last week. Right before everything went sideways with the wedding plans. Peter took his phone back. Jasmine thinks Ruby's in trouble. Financial trouble. My phone buzzed. Lily sending updates. The new venue contract was signed, the florist was on board, and the guest accommodation crisis was under control. But there was something else. A series of blocked calls to our office, all from the same number. Peter, what exactly did Mother promise Ruby 3 years ago? For helping with your wedding? He grimaced. Money, I think. A lot of it. Ruby's husband had just lost their savings in a bad investment. The pieces were clicking together. I pulled out Ruby's crumpled note from my pocket, comparing it to the texts on my phone. She's calling our office multiple times a day. Be careful, Ren. Peter's expression was serious. Ruby's desperate and your mother's cornered. That's a dangerous combination. My phone rang. Kylie's number. Hey, what's up? Can you come home? Now? Her voice was shaking. Mum's fighting with Sawyer's parents and I don't know what to do. I was already grabbing my coat. On my way. Don't let anyone leave. Peter stood too. Need backup? Always. Call Jasmine. Tell her to check Ruby's social media. Anything about money problems or sudden lifestyle changes in the past 3 years. The drive back was tense. Peter filled me in on family gossip, the whispered conversations, the suspicious timing of Mother's sudden social withdrawal last month, the way she'd been selling off her precious antiques quietly. We walked into chaos, voices echoed from the living room, Mother's sharp tones cutting through Sawyer's father's deeper rumble. Your son is making a mistake, Mother was saying as we entered. Kylie deserves... A drama-free wedding, I interrupted, which is exactly what she's going to get. Mr. and Mrs. Grant, I apologize for the confusion. I've arranged for you to stay at the Four Seasons until the wedding. My treat. Mother's eyes flashed. Ren, you have no authority to... Actually, I do. I pulled out my tablet. Kylie hired me officially this morning. I have the signed contract right here. And as her wedding planner, I'm implementing a new policy. No family drama within 50 feet of the bride. Sawyer, who'd been silent in the corner, suddenly laughed. I like her, he told Kylie. Why didn't you tell me your sister was so badass? Because Mother told everyone I was unstable and unreliable, I said pleasantly. Now, shall we discuss the new venue? It's much more suitable for a Grant Dawson wedding. The meeting went smoothly after that. I walked the Grants through the changes, showed them photos of the Rosewood Gardens, and assured them their son's wedding would be the event of the season. By the time they left, even Mother had to admit things were under control. But as I packed up my tablet, I noticed her hands shaking slightly as she checked her phone. A text notification popped up, Ruby's name clearly visible. Everything okay, Mother? I asked innocently. You seem stressed. Mind your own business, she snapped, but there was fear behind the anger. My phone buzzed with a text from Lily. Ruby's house is in foreclosure. Notice posted last week. Another piece of the puzzle. I looked at Mother, remembering how she'd always said revenge was a dish best served cold. Well, I'd had 3 years to chill. You know, I said casually, I'm having dinner with Jasmine and Peter tonight. Ruby's name came up earlier. Interesting coincidence, don't you think? Mother's phone clattered to the floor. As she bent to retrieve it, I saw what I needed to see. Panic. Ren, Kylie called from the doorway, the cake designer's here for the tasting. Coming. I smiled at Mother. Don't worry. Everything's going exactly according to plan. I left her there staring at her phone and wondered how long it would take her to realize that this time it wasn't her plan that was unfolding. It was mine. The cake tasting was interrupted by my father's unexpected arrival. He stood in the doorway of the kitchen looking older than I remembered, his tie loose around his neck. Ren, he said softly. You look well. Before I could respond, Lily burst in. We have a situation. Sawyer's missing. What? Kylie dropped her fork, splattering raspberry filling across the counter. His parents can't reach him, and he's not answering his phone. Lily held up her tablet, but I tracked his last credit card purchase 20 minutes ago at Ruby's cafe. My father's head snapped up. Ruby, what does she have to do with this? Interesting that you ask, I said, studying his reaction. When did you last see Ruby, Dad? He tugged at his collar. I should find your mother. She's already looking for Sawyer, Lily cut in. Left 10 minutes ago. Seemed to know exactly where to go. I grabbed my car keys. Kylie, stay here with Dad. Lily, you're with me. The drive to Ruby's cafe was tense. Lily pulled up more information on her tablet. Ruby's house goes to auction next week. And get this, there's a series of transfers from your mother's account to Ruby's starting 3 years ago. Monthly payments that stopped last month. Blackmail, I muttered, pulling into the cafe parking lot. Ruby helped Mother try to ruin Jasmine's wedding, expecting a big payoff. When that failed, your mother had to keep paying to keep her quiet, Lily finished, until she couldn't anymore. We spotted Mother's car parked around back. Through the cafe window, I could see Sawyer sitting with Ruby, both looking intense. Mother stood nearby, her face pale. Call Peter, I told Lily. Tell him to bring those texts from Ruby, then start recording. The bell chimed as I entered. Ruby looked up, her composed expression slipping for just a second. Well, she said, the prodigal daughter arrives. We were just discussing family history. Were you telling Sawyer about how you and Mother tried to sabotage Jasmine's wedding? I pulled up a chair. Or about the blackmail payments that just stopped? Mother stepped forward. Ren, you don't understand. Actually, I do. I turned to Sawyer. They're trying to stop your wedding the same way they tried to stop Jasmine's. By digging up dirt, creating chaos, and hoping it all falls apart. That's not, Ruby started. The venue confusion. That was you, wasn't it? You still had Mother's planning documents from Jasmine's wedding, including her signature. Easy enough to forge a date change. Sawyer leaned forward. Is this true? The florist quit because someone sent her emails appearing to be from Mother, threatening legal action. I continued. The guest date mix-up? All traceable to an email account created last week. You can't prove any of this, Ruby said, but her voice shook. Actually, she can, Lily spoke from the doorway, holding up her tablet. I have the digital trail, and Peter's on his way with those threatening texts you sent him. Mother sank into a chair. I had no choice. She was going to tell everyone. That you tried to ruin Jasmine's wedding? That you disowned me for refusing to help? I laughed. Go ahead, Ruby, tell everyone. I'm not afraid of the truth anymore. The payments were supposed to continue, Ruby hissed at Mother. We had a deal. Until you ran out of money, I said to Mother. That's why you've been selling your antiques. Why you needed this wedding to be perfect, to maintain the illusion of control. Sawyer stood up. I've heard enough. I'm calling Kylie. Wait, Mother pleaded. Please, I was only trying to protect the family name. By destroying it? I shook my head. The only thing you protected was your own ego. Ruby's phone buzzed. Another foreclosure notice. As she reached for it, her hand trembling, I saw something else. A flash of a familiar signature on a document partially hidden under her purse. "What's that?" I pointed. She tried to snatch it away, but Sawyer was faster. His eyes widened as he read. "This is my father's signature on a loan document." The final piece clicked. "That's why you targeted Sawyer's family specifically. You needed a new source of income." Mother's face crumpled. "I never meant—" "Save it." I stood up. "Lily, send copies of everything to my father and the Grants. Ruby, I suggest you leave town before they decide to press charges." As Ruby fled and Mother sat there crying, Sawyer turned to me. "Thank you for uncovering all this." "Don't thank me yet," I said, checking my phone. "We still have a wedding to plan. That is, if you're still interested." He smiled, already dialing Kylie's number. "More than ever, but maybe with a few less family members on the guest list." I watched Mother's shoulders shake, feeling not triumph but a strange mix of pity and relief. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about revealing the truth and letting karma do the rest. "You should have seen her face," Jasmine said, helping me arrange flowers in the new venue. "Ruby showed up at her house this morning begging for money. Mom shut the door in her face." I adjusted a rose, thinking about Mother's silence since yesterday's confrontation at the cafe. She hadn't come home last night, and Dad was worried sick. "Remember when we were kids?" Jasmine continued. "How Mother used to parade us around at charity events, comparing us to each other?" "Jasmine got straight A's, why can't you?" I mimicked. "Ren won the piano competition, Jasmine. You should practice more." Always pitting us against each other. Jasmine shook her head. "And we fell for it every time." The venue doors burst open. Kylie rushed in, her face flushed. "Mom's in the hospital." My hands froze on the flowers. "What happened?" "Anxiety attack. Dad found her in her car outside Ruby's house. Kylie's voice cracked. "She had all these old photos of us, and letters she never sent you." Lily appeared with her tablet. "The Grants are handling the Ruby situation. Apparently, she tried the same blackmail scheme with them this morning. They're pressing charges." I sat down heavily on a nearby chair. Did they know about Mother's involvement? "They suspected." Lily showed me some emails. "Sawyer's been investigating since last week. That's why he was meeting with Ruby yesterday, gathering evidence." "Smart man," Jasmine commented. "Kylie, you picked well." Kylie twisted her engagement ring. "He wants to postpone the wedding. Says I need time with my family to sort things out." "No," I said firmly. "Mother would love that. One last bit of control. This wedding happens in 4 days, exactly as planned. But Mom, we'll have to face the consequences of her actions." I stood up, decision made. "Lily, call the hospital. Tell them I'm coming to see my mother." The hospital room was quiet except for the steady beep of monitors. Mother looked small in the bed, her perfect makeup gone, her hair limp against the pillow. "I wondered when you'd come," she said without opening her eyes. "Why did you do it?" I pulled up a chair. "All of it. Jasmine's wedding, the blackmail, trying to ruin Kylie's wedding." She turned to look at me, eyes red-rimmed. "I wanted the best for my girls, always the best." "No," I corrected. "You wanted control. There's a difference." "When did you get so wise?" A tear slid down her cheek. "I've made such a mess of everything." "Yes, you have." I took out my phone, showing her the wedding plans. "But Kylie's wedding is still happening. And you have a choice to make." "What choice?" "You can check yourself out, show up, and try to take control again. Or you can stay here, get help, and trust that your daughters know what they're doing." She was quiet for a long moment. "The Grants must hate me." "They're angry," I admitted. "But Sawyer loves Kylie, and right now, that's all that matters." "And you?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Do you hate me?" I thought about the past 3 years. The pain, the struggle, the triumph of building my own life. "No, but I don't trust you either. That has to be earned back." My phone buzzed. Lily sending updates about the wedding preparations. Mother watched me read them, a strange expression on her face. "You're good at this," she said. "Better than I ever was." "Because I care about making people happy, not controlling them." I stood up. "The wedding's in 4 days. If you want to attend, you'll need to apologize to everyone involved." No excuses, no manipulations, just the truth. And if I can't, then you'll miss your daughter's wedding, your choice. As I reached the door, she called out, "The letters, the ones I never sent." Kylie told me. I paused. "Save them. When you're ready, really ready, we can talk about them." Back at the venue, I found Kylie and Sawyer dancing in the empty hall, practicing their first dance. Jasmine was filming them, while Lily directed the lighting tests. "How is she?" Kylie asked as I approached. "Getting what she needed all along, help." I watched Sawyer spin her gracefully. "You two ready for this?" They looked at each other, sharing a private smile. "More than ever," Sawyer said. "Nothing like a little family drama to make you sure about your choices." "Speaking of choices," Lily interrupted, "the minister needs to know if we're keeping the traditional vows or—" A text lit up my phone. A photo from Dad. Mother, sitting up in her hospital bed, writing what looked like letters. "The vows," I said, smiling at the photo, "should be about truth, forgiveness, and new beginnings. Because sometimes that's what karma looks like. Not just consequences, but chances to make things right." The morning of the wedding dawned clear and bright. I was already at the Rosewood Gardens by 6 a.m., directing the setup when my father's car pulled in. "She's here," he said quietly as he approached. "In the bridal suite. She wants to see Kylie." I checked my watch. "Is she ready to apologize?" "She spent all night practicing." He smiled weakly. He even wrote it down. "Lily," I called to my assistant, "take over here. I need to referee a mother-daughter reunion." The bridal suite was silent when I entered. Mother sat primly on the edge of a chair, a piece of paper trembling in her hands. She'd lost weight in the hospital, but her eyes were clearer than I'd seen them in years. "Kylie's on her way," I said. "Ground rules, no guilt trips, no manipulations, no drama. This is her day." "I know." Mother smoothed her paper. "I've been practicing with my therapist." A soft knock and Kylie entered in her robe, hair in curlers. She froze when she saw Mother. "Mom, should you be out of the hospital?" "I'm here on a day pass." Mother stood, then did something I'd never seen before. She sat on the floor at Kylie's feet. "I need to tell you something." I moved to leave, but Kylie grabbed my hand. "Stay, please." Mother unfolded her paper, then crumpled it up. "No, this needs to come from my heart." She took a deep breath. "I'm sorry. I've been a terrible mother. I tried to control everything, everyone, and I nearly ruined the most important day of your life." Kylie's grip on my hand tightened. "I was wrong," Mother continued. "About everything. About Sawyer. About the wedding. About how I treated Wren." She looked up at me. "Especially about how I treated Wren." "Mom," Kylie's voice wavered. "No, let me finish. I'm getting help now. Real help. And I promise if you'll let me stay for the wedding, I'll sit quietly and just be your mother. Not your wedding planner, not your social director, just your mom." The door opened again, Jasmine peeking in. "Sorry, but we need the bride. Hair and makeup are ready and—" "Oh." Mother stood slowly. "Jasmine, I owe you an apology too." "Save it for later," I interrupted, checking the time. "We have a schedule to keep. Mother, there's a seat in the back row." "No," Kylie said firmly. "Mom, I want you in the front row, where you belong. But only if you promise no interference. This is my day, my way." "I promise," Mother's voice cracked. "Thank you." The next few hours flew by in a whirlwind of activity. Lily coordinated the vendors while I helped Kylie dress. Mother kept her word, sitting quietly, only speaking when spoken to. Then, just as we were lining up for the ceremony, a commotion erupted at the entrance. "Ruby!" Lily hissed in my ear. "She's trying to get in. I've got this." I strode to the doors where security was already blocking Ruby's path. "You can't keep me out," Ruby was shouting. "I have information." "About what?" I asked coldly. "The blackmail scheme you're being charged for, or the forged documents the Grant's lawyers found?" "Meredith," she pleaded, spotting Mother approaching behind me. Tell them about our deal." Mother stepped forward, and for a moment I tensed, ready for another disaster. But she surprised me. "The only deal," Mother said clearly, is the one you'll make with the prosecutors. Go home, Ruby. It's over. As security escorted Ruby away, I heard the opening notes of the wedding march. Ready? I asked Mother. She straightened her shoulders. To sit quietly and watch my daughter be happy? Yes, I think I finally am. The ceremony was perfect. Kylie glowed as she walked down the aisle on Dad's arm. Sawyer's face lit up when he saw her. Their vows were personal and touching, without a hint of family drama. And Mother? She sat in the front row, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief, not trying to control a single thing. At the reception, I was checking the dinner service when Sawyer's father approached. Quite a transformation, he said, nodding toward Mother, who was quietly watching Kylie and Sawyer's first dance. Your mother's apology this morning seemed genuine. It was. I adjusted a centerpiece. Sometimes people surprise you. Speaking of surprises, he handed me a business card. We're expanding our event planning division. Could use someone with your skills. I smiled, pocketing the card. Thank you, but I'm happy where I am. Besides, I glanced at Mother again. I think my family might need me around for a while. The music changed, and I watched as Sawyer led Kylie to where Mother sat. They exchanged words I couldn't hear. Then Kylie hugged her, real and genuine. Lily appeared at my elbow. Everything's perfect. You can relax now. Not quite yet. I picked up my champagne glass. But for the first time in years, I think we're getting there. The reception was in full swing when Lily grabbed my arm. We have a problem. There's a reporter from the society pages asking questions about Ruby. I set down my champagne. Where? By the gift table. Apparently Ruby called them with a shocking exposé about the Dawson Grant wedding. Before I could move, Mother appeared beside us. I'll handle this. Mom, no. Trust me, just this once. I followed her to where a young reporter was scribbling in a notebook. Mother straightened her spine, channeling every ounce of her social authority. I understand you're writing a story, she said smoothly. Let me give you a better one. The reporter looked up. Mrs. Dawson. Ruby said, Ruby Grant is currently under investigation for blackmail and fraud. Mother's voice was clear and steady. But here's your headline. Society Maven admits past mistakes, celebrates daughter's joy. I'll give you an exclusive interview. My jaw dropped. The reporter's eyes widened. Mom, I whispered. Are you sure? She nodded. It's time for the truth. Turning back to the reporter, she continued. 3 years ago, I tried to sabotage another wedding. I let pride and control destroy my relationship with my eldest daughter. I paid someone to keep quiet about it, and now I'm facing the consequences and making amends. The reporter's pen flew across the page. That's quite a story. It's also a story about redemption, I added, placing a hand on Mother's arm. About choosing family over pride. A commotion near the entrance caught our attention. Ruby had returned, this time with a police escort. Mrs. Grant, one officer said loudly, you're in violation of the restraining order. The music screeched to a halt. Guests turned to stare. Kylie and Sawyer hurried over, but before anyone could speak, Mother stepped forward. Ruby, she said clearly, enough. We both know what we did was wrong. I'm facing my mistakes. It's time you faced yours. Ruby's face contorted. You promised me. You said if I helped you control your daughters. I was wrong. Mother's voice cracked. So wrong, and I'm sorry, but this ends now. As the officers led Ruby away, she shouted, You'll regret this, Meredith. I'll tell everyone. I already did, Mother called after her. She turned to the reporter. Make sure you get that part right. I told the truth before she could use it against me. Sawyer's father stepped forward, clapping slowly. Well done, Meredith. Better late than never. The music resumed. Guests returned to dancing. The reporter hurried off to file her story. And Mother started crying. I'm so sorry, she whispered, looking at me, for everything, for trying to control you, for not supporting you, for... I pulled her into a hug, surprising us both. I know, Mom. I know. Kylie joined our hug, then Dad, then Jasmine. Even Sawyer wrapped his long arms around our family group. Well, Lily said, wiping her eyes, this is definitely going in my best weddings ever list. The rest of the reception passed in a blur of dancing toasts and genuine laughter. During the father-daughter dance, I watched Dad twirl Kylie while Mother sat beside me. You did an amazing job, she said softly. With the wedding. With everything. Thanks, Mom. I found your old business plan the other day. The one you showed me when you first wanted to be a wedding planner. I dismissed it completely. I remembered that day, her cutting words, her dismissal of my dreams. You did. I was wrong. You've built something beautiful. She hesitated. Those letters I wrote, would you like to read them? Maybe. Not today, though. Today is for Kylie. Mother smiled. A real smile, not her society mask. You're a better person than I ever was. No, I corrected her. I just learned from your mistakes. And my own. The music changed to a popular dance song. Kylie ran over, grabbing both our hands. Come on, everyone on the dance floor. And there we were, Mother and I dancing with Kylie, laughing as Dad tried to do the Macarena, watching Sawyer spin Jasmine while his parents cheered. Lily appeared with her tablet. The society pages just posted their article. Want to see? The headline read, Love Conquers All, a story of truth, redemption, and the wedding of the year. Perfect, I said, watching Mother dance with Kylie. Absolutely perfect. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even or proving you're right. Sometimes it's about being there when someone finally admits they were wrong and helping them find their way back to what really matters. Family, truth, love, and maybe, just maybe, a perfectly planned wedding. The morning after the wedding, I found Mother sitting in her garden reading the Society Pages article on her tablet. The roses she'd always obsessed over were untended, wild and beautiful in their natural state. Coffee? I offered her a cup. Thank you. She set the tablet down. The article's gone viral. Ruby's been calling all morning. Let her. I settled into the adjacent chair. The truth was going to come out eventually. Your father's helping me pack for the rehabilitation centre. She traced the rim of her cup. 30 days of intensive therapy. I'll miss Kylie's honeymoon return. But you'll be here for everything else that comes after. A comfortable silence fell between us. The garden's morning shadows shifted as the sun rose higher, and somewhere a bird started singing. I found this while packing, Mother said, pulling an envelope from her pocket. Your first business card, the one you showed me when you announced you were becoming a wedding planner. I remembered designing it at Lily's kitchen table, full of hope and determination. Mother had torn it up in front of me. I kept one, she admitted, hidden in my jewellery box. Even when I was at my worst, trying to control everything, I kept it. The sound of car doors slamming interrupted us. Kylie and Sawyer emerged from their car, still in their travel clothes. You haven't left for your honeymoon yet? Mother asked as they approached. Changed our plans, Kylie said, settling onto the garden bench. We're postponing the Maldives trip. Why? I asked. Sawyer grinned. Because we've got a better idea. Mum, how would you like some visitors at the rehabilitation centre? Mother's hand trembled, spilling coffee. What? We checked with the centre, Kylie explained. They have family therapy sessions. We thought, maybe we could all use some healing. Together. All, Mother whispered. All, I confirmed, surprising myself. If you're willing to do the work, we're willing to be there. Tears spilled down Mother's cheeks. After everything I did, family is complicated, Sawyer said. My parents taught me that, but it's worth fighting for. The garden gate creaked, and Jasmine walked in with Peter and Lily. Hope we're not too early, Jasmine called. We brought breakfast. And paperwork, Lily added, waving a folder. Ruby's lawyer called. She's agreeing to a full confession in exchange for leniency. Mother straightened. Good. It's time we both faced consequences. Speaking of consequences, I pulled out my own envelope. I have something to show you, Mom. Inside was a business proposal. Plans for expanding my wedding planning business to include family counselling services for couples and their families. The grants are still interested in investing, I explained, but I'd like to offer you first refusal. Not for the money, but for the chance to help other families avoid our mistakes. A partnership, Mother's voice wavered. Eventually, after rehabilitation, after we've all done some healing. I met her eyes. What do you say? She looked around the garden, at Kylie and Sawyer holding hands, at Jasmine setting out breakfast with Peter, at Lily organising papers, at me offering a chance for redemption. I say, she took a deep breath, I say I'd like to earn that opportunity. Dad appeared in the doorway. Car's packed, Meredith. Ready. Mother stood, smoothing her skirt. Will you all be here when I get back? We'll do you one better, Kylie said. We'll be there with you. Every step. As Dad helped Mother to the car, I felt Lily nudge me. Happy ending? I watched Mother pause at the car, looking back at her garden, at all of us gathered there, choosing to stay, choosing to heal. Not an ending, I corrected. A beginning. Mother waved once, then got in the car. As they drove away, Kylie linked her arm through mine. You know what this means? She asked. More weddings to plan. More families to help. More chances to get it right, Jasmine added. I looked at my family. The ones born to me and the ones I'd chosen, all gathered in the garden where I'd once felt so alone. Well then, I said, picking up Mother's abandoned tablet with its viral story of truth and redemption, we better get to work. Because sometimes the best stories don't end with revenge or perfect resolution. Sometimes they end with people choosing to try again, to do better, to heal together. And sometimes, just sometimes, they end in a garden, with breakfast and family and the promise of tomorrow. Pass the coffee, I said, pulling out my planner. We've got some planning to do.
The smell of disinfectant and baby powder mingled in my nostrils as I pushed open our front door, Maya's carrier weighing heavily on my arm. 3 days in the hospital had left me craving the comfort of my own space, my own things, but something felt off the moment I stepped inside. Welcome home. Vivian's voice drifted from our living room, syrupy sweet and dangerous. I set Maya's carrier down gently, my body still aching from the cesarean. The house was different, emptier, wrong. My throat tightened as I made my way down the hallway, each step revealing another missing piece of my life. What have you done? The words scraped out of my mouth as I reached the living room doorway. There sat my mother-in-law, perched on our leather sofa like a vulture, surrounded by stacks of cash. My cash. Behind her, the built-in shelves stood bare, stripped of my collection of vintage cameras. The art prints I'd carefully curated were gone from the walls, leaving only shadow marks on the paint. Teaching you responsibility, Genesis dear. Vivian didn't look up as she counted another stack of bills. A new mother needs to focus on her baby, not all these distractions. I gripped the doorframe, my knees threatening to buckle. Those were my things, my property. And now they're money for the baby's future. She smiled, all teeth. Really, you should thank me. I got excellent prices at the estate sale. Estate sale. The words hit like a physical blow. While I was in the hospital giving birth to her grandchild, she had systematically stripped away my identity. Maya's cry pierced the air, and I turned back toward the entrance, my body moving on autopilot. As I lifted her from the carrier, I noticed my wedding photos were missing from the entryway table. Everything personal, everything mine, gone. Where's Ryan? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. Working late, as usual. He knows nothing about this, of course. Men don't understand these things. Vivian stood, smoothing her expensive slacks. I took the liberty of reorganizing your closet as well. All those impractical designer pieces had to go. A mother needs sensible clothes. My closet. I practically ran up the stairs, Maya clutched to my chest, her tiny body my only anchor to reality. The master bedroom door swung open to reveal bare hangers, where my carefully curated wardrobe had hung. The vintage Chanel suit I'd worn when I first met Ryan at the marketing firm, the red dress from our engagement party, the silk blouses I'd earned with every promotion, all gone. You had no right. I turned to find Vivian watching from the doorway. This is theft. This is guidance. She stepped closer, her perfume suffocating. Ryan gave me the spare key for emergencies. Clearly, this qualified. You need to understand your role now, Genesis. You're a mother, not some career woman playing house. Maya whimpered, and I instinctively rocked her, even as rage burned through my veins. Get out. Now, dear, get out. Each word was ice. And take your blood money with you. This isn't over. Vivian's mask slipped for just a moment, showing something like fear before her practiced smile returned. We'll see about that. Welcome to motherhood, Genesis. I watched her leave, listening to her heels click down the stairs, the front door open and close. Only then did I sink to the floor, holding Maya close as tears burned my eyes. I promise you, I whispered to my daughter, she will never do to you what she's trying to do to me. My phone buzzed. A text from Ryan. Hope you're settling in okay. Love you both. I stared at the message, at the empty closet, at the bare walls. Vivian thought she was teaching me about motherhood. Instead, she'd taught me about war, and I intended to win. Maya's soft breathing filled the nursery as I traced the walls where my art prints used to hang. 3 days had passed since coming home, and Ryan still hadn't noticed anything missing. Or maybe he had, and just couldn't bring himself to ask. The front door clicked open downstairs. Jen, Ryan's voice carried up, followed by his footsteps. I didn't answer, keeping my eyes fixed on the bare wall. He appeared in the doorway, loosening his tie, that familiar concerned crease between his eyebrows. Everything okay? You didn't answer my texts today. Just thinking about when we first met, I said, turning to face him. Remember how we competed for that Johnson account? He smiled, shoulders relaxing. You destroyed me in that pitch meeting, and then you asked me out for coffee to learn from my strategy. The memory tasted bitter now. We were equals then. His smile faded. Jen, what's this about? Your mother sold my things. The words fell like stones between us. While I was in the hospital, everything, my cameras, my art, my clothes. Ryan blinked, processing. What? No, she wouldn't. Check our closet. I watched him walk to our bedroom, heard his sharp intake of breath. When he returned, his face had gone pale. I'll talk to her, he said. There must be some misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? I laughed, the sound harsh enough to make Maya stir. She had an estate sale, Ryan. She counted the money in front of me when I came home with your daughter. He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous habit from our dating days. Why didn't you tell me right away? Why didn't you notice? I countered. 3 days, Ryan. 3 days of bare walls and empty closets. I've been distracted with work. The merger. Like you were distracted when she rearranged our kitchen last month, or when she started showing up unannounced every weekend? The words rushed out now, months of frustration breaking free. Or maybe you were too distracted to remember it was your idea for me to quit my job. That's not fair. His voice hardened. We agreed it would be best for the baby. No, we didn't agree. You presented it as the only option, backed by statistics from your mother about child development and working parents. I stepped closer, forcing him to meet my eyes. Tell me something. Did you ever actually want an equal partner, or was that just until you found someone to mold into your mother's vision? Ryan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it reflexively, and I caught Vivian's name on the screen. Go ahead, I said. Answer it. She's probably calling to make sure you're handling me properly. Genesis, stop. He shoved the phone back in his pocket. You're being paranoid. Mother can be overwhelming sometimes, but she means well. Means well? I moved to Maya's crib, placing my hand on her back, feeling her tiny heartbeat. She violated our home, stole my property, and you're defending her. I'm not defending. He cut off as Maya began to cry. Look, let me talk to her. I'll sort this out. I lifted Maya, cradling her close. You know what the worst part is? When we were dating, you told me stories about how controlling she was, how she drove your father away. I thought you understood. I thought you'd be different. Ryan stepped toward us, reached out, then let his hand fall. I'll get the money back. I'll make this right. It was never about the money. I turned away, focusing on soothing Maya. It was about respect, about trust, about being partners. We are partners. No, I said quietly. Partners notice when their wife's world is being dismantled. Partners protect each other. Maya settled against my shoulder, her cries softening. Partners choose each other. His phone buzzed again. This time, he answered it, stepping into the hallway. I heard his murmured conversation, the familiar placating tone he used with his mother. Looking down at Maya's peaceful face, I made a decision. Ryan could keep playing peacekeeper between his mother and me, but I was done being the victim in their dynamic. If Vivian wanted to teach me about being a mother, I'd show her exactly what a mother was capable of when protecting what was hers. The question was, what would I have left to protect when this was over? The security camera footage played on my laptop screen, grainy but clear enough. Vivian's familiar figure moved through our living room at 2:47 p.m. last Tuesday while I was at my prenatal appointment. She wasn't just dropping by. She was searching, methodical and purposeful, pulling books from shelves and rifling through drawers. I'd installed the cameras after Maya's birth, telling Ryan they were for the baby's safety. He'd smiled, called me overprotective. If he only knew. The footage continued. Vivian disappeared upstairs, returning 20 minutes later, clutching papers to her chest. My stomach clenched. Our home office was upstairs. Maya's monitor crackled with her afternoon fuss. I closed the laptop and headed to the nursery, my mind racing. What had she taken? What was she looking for? The answer waited in Ryan's desk drawer that evening, after he'd left for his weekly dinner with Vivian. A stack of letters. Dozens of them, all from her to him, dating back months before our wedding. I pulled one at random, dated 3 weeks ago. Dearest Ryan, I worry about Genesis's capability as a mother, her resistance to traditional values, her stubborn independence. These aren't qualities that nurture a stable home. Remember how your father's modern ideas destroyed our family? I've seen the signs before. My hands shook as I read letter after letter. Each one methodically undermined me, poisoned Ryan's perception of me, justified every interference. The front door opened downstairs. I froze. Letters scattered across the desk. Jen? Ryan's voice. Home early. I gathered the letters quickly, shoving them into my pocket. In the office. His footsteps on the stairs, then he appeared in the doorway, looking troubled. Mother's not feeling well. Dinner ended early. How convenient, I said, keeping my voice neutral. Everything okay? She's worried about you. He leaned against the doorframe. Says you've been cold lately, distant. I almost laughed. Distant? After what she did? She returned the money today. He pulled an envelope from his jacket. And she's sorry about the estate sale. She thought she was helping. The letters burned in my pocket. Did she tell you why she has a key to our house? For emergencies. Like searching our office while I'm at doctor's appointments. His expression shifted. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone, pulled up the security footage, watched his face as he saw his mother methodically violating our privacy. This doesn't prove anything, he said, but his voice wavered. She could have been looking for... I threw the letters onto the desk between us. They scattered like accusations. Read them, I said. Read how she's been systematically turning you against me, how she compares me to your father, warns you about my independence, my career ambitions, my unfitness as a mother. Ryan picked up a letter, then another. His face grew paler with each one. She's scared, he whispered finally, after Dad left. Stop making excuses for her. The words exploded out of me. She's not scared. She's controlling, and you're letting her do it. Maya's cry pierced the tension. I moved to leave, but Ryan caught my arm. Why didn't you tell me about these before? I looked at his hand on my arm, then into his eyes. Because you wouldn't have believed me. You still don't want to. That's not fair. Neither is this. I pulled away. Your mother isn't just trying to control me anymore, Ryan. She's trying to control Maya's future. And I won't let that happen. What are you saying? Maya's cries grew louder. I headed for the nursery, calling over my shoulder. I'm saying you need to decide whose side you're really on. Because this war your mother started, it ends with one of us winning. And I don't lose. I lifted Maya from her crib, holding her close as Ryan stood in the doorway, letters still clutched in his hand. The choice was his now. But I already knew what my next move would be. Vivian wasn't the only one who could play the long game, and she'd just given me all the ammunition I needed. The bank statement trembled in my hands as I sat in the parked car outside Vivian's favorite salon. $200,000, transferred from our joint account to a new one in Ryan's name only. Last Thursday, the day after I showed him the letters, my phone buzzed. A text from Ryan. Working late again. Don't wait up. Through the salon window, I watched Vivian laugh with her stylist, probably sharing another story about her incompetent daughter-in-law. She'd been here 3 hours already. Plenty of time for me to do what I came for. I slipped my spare key into her front door, the one Ryan had given me during better days, for emergencies. The house smelled of leather and old money, everything perfectly arranged like a museum to her control. In her study, I found what I expected. Files, meticulously organized. But what I discovered made my blood run cold. Custody papers, already drawn up. Documentation of my unstable behavior. Photographs of me crying in the nursery, taken through our kitchen window. Notes about my concerning isolation and rejection of family support. Looking for something? I whirled around. Vivian stood in the doorway, her fresh highlights gleaming like a crown. You're building a case against me. My voice came out steady, surprising us both. Insurance. She stepped into the room, closing the door behind her. Ryan's always had a weakness for strong women, just like his father. But strong women break things, Genesis, families, marriages, children. Is that what happened? Your husband left because you weren't strong enough to keep him? Her smile tightened. I kept what mattered. My son, my position, my control. And now you're trying to take my daughter. Oh, darling. She perched on her desk, perfectly poised. I'm trying to save her. From a mother who's clearly suffering from postpartum depression, who's becoming paranoid, who installed security cameras and makes wild accusations. She gestured to the files. The evidence is quite compelling. My hands curled into fists. Ryan would never. Ryan already has. She pulled out a document, his signature fresh at the bottom. He's concerned too. That transfer you discovered? It's to protect family assets while we get you the help you need. The room tilted. You're lying. Check your text messages. He's not working late. He's meeting with my lawyer. She leaned forward, almost gentle. It's for the best, Genesis. You're not well. Maya needs stability. I backed toward the door, files clutched to my chest. This isn't over. It was over the moment you married my son. Her voice followed me down the hall. I just had to wait for you to prove me right. Outside, I sat in my car, hands shaking as I called Ryan's office. Mr. Anderson left early today, his secretary said. He had a meeting with Patricia Chen, Vivian's lawyer. I drove home on autopilot, mind racing. The house was dark when I arrived, Maya's nursery silent. I checked the security footage. There was Ryan, 4 hours ago, lifting Maya from her crib, packing her diaper bag with practiced care. My phone buzzed again. Staying at Mom's tonight with Maya. We need to talk tomorrow. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be. The message blurred as tears filled my eyes. But beneath the pain, something else crystallized. Pure, clarifying rage. They thought they had me cornered, labeled, diagnosed, and dismissed. But they'd forgotten something crucial. I wasn't just Maya's mother or Ryan's wife. I was the woman who'd outmaneuvered Ryan in every business deal before he married me. The executive who'd built campaigns from nothing. The strategist who never played to lose. I pulled out my laptop, fingers flying across the keys. If they wanted evidence, I'd give them evidence. If they wanted a war, I'd give them destruction. But first, I needed to make a call to the one person who hated Vivian as much as I did. It was time to talk to Ryan's father. The cafe buzzed with morning chatter as I sat across from James Anderson, studying Ryan's features and his father's aged face. He stirred his coffee methodically, the same way his son did. Vivian always was thorough, he said, reviewing the custody documents I'd brought. She used similar tactics when she took Ryan from me, documented every business trip, every late meeting, every moment I wasn't the perfect father she demanded. And you just let her win? His smile was bitter. I made the mistake of believing Ryan would see through her manipulation eventually. By the time I realized my error, she'd already convinced him I'd abandon them both. My phone lit up. Another message from Ryan. The lawyer says this can be simple if you cooperate. Mom's found an excellent facility. I switched it off. I need something I can use against her, something concrete. After 20 years? James shook his head. Vivian doesn't leave evidence, Genesis. She creates it. The waitress refilled our cups. I watched the steam rise, remembering the security footage, the photographs through my window, the carefully crafted narrative of my instability. Unless... James leaned forward. There might be something. The trust fund she set up for Ryan, the one she uses to control his financial decisions. I always suspected the money came from illegal sources. My marketing brain kicked in. That would explain how she maintained her lifestyle after your divorce, despite having no visible income. If you could prove it. He left the sentence hanging. The cafe door chimed. I glanced up and froze. Vivian stood in the entrance, her face a masterpiece of calculated concern. She walked toward us, each click of her heels a countdown. Genesis, darling, we've been so worried. Her voice carried just enough for nearby tables to hear. Running off like this, meeting with questionable people. James stood. Hello, Vivian, Still practicing your concerned mother act? James, still trying to destroy what's left of our family? She turned to me, eyes gleaming. Ryan's beside himself. First the paranoid accusations, now secret meetings with his estranged father. This isn't helping your case, dear. I rose slowly, steady despite my racing heart. Interesting. You found me awfully quickly for someone who claims I'm paranoid about being watched. A mother's intuition. She placed a manicured hand on my arm. Let me help you, Genesis. For Maya's sake. I jerked away. Don't touch me. Everything okay here? The waitress appeared, coffee pot ready like a weapon. Fine, I said, but Vivian spoke over me. My poor daughter-in-law is having a difficult time adjusting to motherhood. We're just trying to get her the help she needs. The waitress's sympathetic look cut deeper than any knife. This was Vivian's true power, turning concern into control, twisting reality until I looked exactly like the unstable mother she'd painted me to be. I have to go, I said, gathering my things. Genesis. James caught my arm. Remember what I said about the trust. Some things are worth burning for. Vivian's smile flickered. For just a moment, I saw fear in her eyes. Outside, the morning sun felt too bright, too exposing. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. A photo appeared. Maya in her carrier, sleeping peacefully in what looked like a lawyer's office. Another message followed. Time to come home, Genesis, or the next meeting will be about more than temporary custody. I stared at Maya's peaceful face, my vision blurring with tears of rage. Vivian thought she was teaching me about motherhood, about sacrifice. Instead, she taught me that sometimes, to protect what you love, you had to be willing to destroy everything else. I opened my contacts, scrolling to a number I'd kept from my executive days, a forensic accountant who specialized in uncovering hidden money trails. Hello, Marcus. I need you to look into a trust fund, and I need it done quietly. If Vivian wanted to play with fire, I'd show her how it felt to burn. Marcus's report landed in my inbox at 3 a.m., its contents glowing like toxic waste on my laptop screen. Offshore accounts, shell companies, money laundering through art purchases, Vivian's financial empire was built on decades of careful fraud. The trust fund that controlled Ryan's life was a house of cards waiting to collapse. My phone lit up. Ryan? Where are you? His voice was raw. Mom says you've been making threats. I laughed, the sound foreign even to my ears. Is that what she calls it when someone fights back? Genesis, please. Come home. We can work this out. Like you worked out the custody papers or the commitment papers. Silence stretched between us. Then, how did you... No. I know everything now, Ryan. About the trust fund, about your father, about how your mother built her perfect little kingdom on lies. What are you talking about? Check your email. I heard the notification ping through the phone, followed by the sound of him opening the files. His breathing changed as he read. This can't be real. Ask her. Watch her face when you do. The line went dead. I stared at the phone, wondering if I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life or finally broken free. 20 minutes later, pounding on my hotel room door made me jump. Genesis! Vivian's voice, sharp with panic. Open this door immediately. I checked the peephole. She stood there alone, perfectly coiffed even at this hour, but her hands were shaking. I opened the door. Where's Maya? Safe with Ryan. Unlike you, I don't use children as weapons. She pushed past me into the room. What do you want? Want? To keep this quiet. Name your price. I closed the door slowly, savoring the moment. You think this is about money? It's always about money. She paced the small room. Fine. Full custody. The house, Half the trust fund. I want my daughter. My voice cut through her bargaining. I want my life back. I want you gone. She stopped pacing, something dangerous flickering in her eyes. You have no idea what you're doing. One phone call and I can… What? Destroy me? Too late. I pulled out my phone. One button, and every financial authority in the country gets these files. Your empire burns. Ryan sees who you really are. Is that what you want? You'll lose everything, too. She stepped closer. Ryan will never forgive you for destroying his mother. Maya will grow up knowing you tore her family apart. Is revenge worth that price? My finger hovered over the send button. Maybe not. But protecting my daughter from you? That's worth everything. Mom. Ryan's voice from the doorway made us both jump. He stood there, Maya sleeping against his shoulder, looking between us with new eyes. Is it true? All of it? Vivian's mask cracked. Ryan, darling, I can explain. Don't. He walked past her to me, gently transferring Maya into my arms. I saw the papers. Called the lawyer. It's over. No. Vivian grabbed his arm. Everything I did was for you. To protect you, like I protected you from your father. You mean how you drove him away? Ryan pulled free. How you're trying to drive Genesis away? She'll destroy everything we built. You already did that. He turned to me, eyes full of grief and determination. Come home, please. We'll fix this together. Maya stirred in my arms, her tiny hand clutching my shirt. I looked at Vivian, saw the desperation beneath her perfect facade, the fear of losing control. One condition, I said. She never comes near our family again. You can't. Vivian started, but Ryan cut her off. Done. As we left, Vivian called out one last time, her voice breaking. Ryan, please. I'm your mother. He didn't look back. No, you're just someone who taught me what a mother shouldn't be. In the elevator, holding Maya, watching Ryan's reflection in the mirrored walls, I wondered if victory was supposed to feel this hollow. We'd won, but the cost was written in the shadows under Ryan's eyes, in the tremor of his hands as he touched Maya's cheek. Sometimes winning feels exactly like losing, but at least we'd lose together. The doorbell rang at midnight. 1 week after our confrontation at the hotel, Ryan tensed beside me on the couch, but I already knew who it was. The security camera showed Vivian standing on our porch, no longer the polished matriarch, but something rawer, more dangerous. Don't answer it, Ryan said. I handed him Maya's sleeping form and stood. This ends tonight. Vivian had been busy this week, calling Ryan's colleagues, spreading rumors about my mental state, trying to freeze our accounts, each attack more desperate than the last. I opened the door. She pushed past me, stumbling slightly. The perfect mask had cracked, showing something wild underneath. I got your message, she said, waving her phone. You're bluffing about sending those files to the authorities. Am I? I closed the door, following her into the living room. You don't know me very well. She stopped short at the sight of Ryan holding Maya. Something flickered across her face. Pain, longing, fury. I know exactly who you are. Her voice shook. A woman who married above her station, who couldn't handle real responsibility, who's destroying my son's life. That's enough. Ryan stood, cradling Maya protectively. You don't understand what she's doing, Vivian pleaded. She'll take everything. Your daughter, your reputation, your future. Just like your father tried to tell him the truth. I stepped between them. About his father, about the money, about all of it. I protected him. She whirled on me. You think you know what it takes to keep a family safe? I built everything we have. Everything. Through fraud, Ryan said quietly. Through lies. Through necessity. She moved toward him, hands outstretched. Your father would have destroyed us with his gambling debts. I did what I had to do. Everything I built, every decision I made, was for you. No, I caught her arm. It was for you, your control, your fear of being alone. She jerked away, but something had changed in her eyes. You think you're so different? Look at yourself. Destroying evidence, manipulating situations, using Maya as leverage. You're becoming me. The words hit like a physical blow, because somewhere beneath my righteousness, I knew she was right. The difference, I said slowly, is I'm going to stop. I pulled out my phone, opened the email containing Marcus's report, and deleted it. Genesis, what are you doing? Ryan stepped forward. Choosing who I want to be. I turned to Vivian. You're right. I was becoming you, and Maya deserves better than that legacy. You're a fool, she whispered, but her voice had lost its edge. Maybe, but I'm a fool who's done playing your game. I moved to the door, opening it. Leave, Vivian. Not because I'm forcing you, but because it's the only way any of us heal. She stood frozen, looking between Ryan and Maya, then at me. For the first time, I saw past her armor to the terrified woman beneath, the one so afraid of losing control she'd lost everything else instead. Ryan, she breathed, one last plea. He shook his head, tears in his eyes. Goodbye, Mom. She straightened, gathering the shreds of her dignity. At the door, she paused. You'll regret showing mercy. No, I said. I'll regret becoming someone my daughter couldn't respect. After she left, Ryan and I stood in silence, Maya still sleeping peacefully between us. The victory felt different than I'd imagined. Not triumphant, but quietly profound. Why did you delete the evidence? He finally asked. I touched Maya's cheek, feeling her warm breath. Because revenge would have given her power over who I become. And I want to be someone who chooses differently than she did. He pulled us both close, and in that embrace, I felt something shift. Not an ending, but a beginning. We'd face the consequences tomorrow. The rumors, the financial fallout, the long process of healing. But tonight, in the quiet aftermath of choosing mercy over vengeance, I finally felt free. The envelope arrived on Maya's first birthday, elegant cream paper with Vivian's unmistakable handwriting. I found it while clearing away wrapping paper from the small celebration we'd just finished. Just the three of us, surrounded by balloons and the remnants of Maya's first cake adventure. Ryan noticed my hesitation. You don't have to open it, but I did. Inside was a key, the one she'd used to enter our house that day after Maya's birth, and a letter. The key fell heavy into my palm as I unfolded the paper. Genesis, I'm selling the house. Moving to Paris, perhaps. Or Rome. Somewhere far from the ruins I've created. You were right about one thing. I was afraid. Not just of losing Ryan, but of becoming irrelevant. Invisible. The money from my estate sale is in a trust for Maya. Clean money, I assure you. Consider it restitution for what I took from you. Accept it or don't. That's your choice now, as everything should have been from the start. You won what I never could, the wisdom to break the cycle. V. Ryan read over my shoulder, his breath catching. She's really leaving? She already has. I turned the key over in my hand. The postmark is from 2 weeks ago. Maya babbled from her high chair, face still smeared with frosting. I watched her grab at floating balloons, fearless and joy-filled, untouched by the shadows our battle had cast. What will you do with the trust? Ryan asked. I walked to Maya, wiping chocolate from her cheeks. Keep it. Not for us, but for her, so she'll always have choices. And the key. I looked at the small metal weight in my palm, thinking of locks and barriers, of boundaries crossed and trust broken, of how victory and defeat sometimes wore the same face. I think, I said slowly, it's time to change our locks. Not out of fear this time, but because some doors need to stay closed so others can open. Ryan wrapped his arms around us both, and Maya reached up, smearing frosting on his chin. We laughed, the sound lighter than it had been in months. Later that night, after Maya was asleep, I found another envelope while cleaning, this one hidden in the birthday decorations. Inside was a photograph I thought lost forever. Me in my vintage Chanel suit, shaking Ryan's hand after winning the Johnson account. On the back, in James's handwriting, "Found this in Vivian's things. Thought you should have it. Some victories are worth remembering. J." I pinned it to Maya's bulletin board, next to her birthday photos. Not as a reminder of what was lost, but as proof of what remained possible. Strength without cruelty, protection without possession, love without conditions. The security camera chimed, someone at the door. But when I checked the feed, I saw only a moving truck passing by, heading toward Vivian's neighborhood. In its wake, autumn leaves skittered across our porch, free and directionless. Ryan found me there, staring at the empty street. "Regrets?" he asked. "No." I turned off the camera feed. Just thinking about choices and consequences, and how sometimes winning means choosing not to fight. He nodded, understanding what I couldn't quite say, that in the space between revenge and forgiveness lay something harder and more valuable than either. Maya's soft breathing drifted through the monitor, peaceful and sure. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new boundaries to draw and protect. But tonight, in the quiet aftermath of a first birthday celebration, I felt the weight of the past year settling into something like wisdom. I placed Vivian's key in a memory box alongside the photo and her letter, not to preserve the pain, but to remember its lessons. Then I closed the box, leaving the ghosts of what might have been to rest with the truth of what was. Some victories don't need witnesses. Some battles end not with surrender, but with the courage to put down our weapons and walk away. And sometimes, the greatest revenge is simply living well, on our own terms, in houses we build ourselves.
The letter arrived 3 days after we buried my father. Plain white envelope, my name written in his unmistakable architect's handwriting. I found it wedged between bills and junk mail, like it was trying to hide from the world. Just like Dad always did with the important stuff. My name is Avery, and until that moment, I thought I knew everything about my father. I was wrong. I stood in my tiny apartment kitchen, coffee growing cold beside me, staring at that envelope like it might disappear if I looked away. The morning sun caught the edge of the paper, making it glow against my trembling fingers. 3 days of crying had left me hollow, but somehow this letter brought everything rushing back. "Sweetheart," it began, "if you're reading this, then I couldn't find the courage to tell you in person. I'm sorry for that. But what I'm about to share with you needs to stay between us." The words blurred as tears welled up again. I blinked them away, determined to focus. My phone buzzed. Mom's name flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail, just like I had been doing since the funeral. I couldn't handle another conversation about the appropriate way to grieve, or how Chloe was handling it so much better. Back to the letter. "There's something waiting for you at First National Bank, box 247. The key is taped to the back of this page. What you'll find there is yours alone. Not your mother's, not Chloe's. Just yours." I flipped the page over. A small silver key caught the light, secured with clear tape that had yellowed slightly with age. How long had he been planning this? My phone buzzed again. This time it was Ethan. "Hey babe, your mom's worried. Call her back." I texted back quickly, Working on something. Talk later. The letter continued. I've watched you struggle to find your place, always putting everyone else first. You're so much stronger than you know, Avery. Sometimes the greatest act of love is letting someone find their own way. The doorbell rang, making me jump. Through the peephole, I saw Chloe, perfectly put together as always, probably sent by Mom to check on me. I stayed quiet until her heels clicked away down the hall. The guilt of avoiding her twisted in my stomach, but something told me Dad was right. This needed to stay private. The letter's final paragraph made my heart race. The choice of what to do with what you find will be yours alone. But remember this, you don't owe anyone your dreams. Not even family. Especially not family. I sat down hard on my kitchen chair, the letter trembling in my hands. Dad had always been the quiet one, the peacekeeper who smiled and nodded while Mom and Chloe dominated every conversation. But here, in these words, was a different man. Someone who saw more than he let on. My phone lit up again, a text from Ethan. Family dinner tonight at your mom's. Don't skip this one. Please? I stared at the message, then at the key in my hand. The bank would be open for another 3 hours. Family dinner wasn't until 7. I'll be there, I texted back. Standing up, I grabbed my coat and the letter, carefully folding it into my pocket. Whatever was in that safety deposit box, Dad wanted me to find it before facing the family. Before facing Mom's plans for moving forward, and Chloe's perfectly scripted grief and Ethan's well-meaning but suffocating concern. As I locked my apartment door, another text came through from Mom. We're something appropriate tonight. The Hendersons are coming. We need to show them we're handling this with dignity. I smiled grimly. First the bank, then dinner. And somewhere between those 2 points, I'd discover exactly what my quiet, observant father had been planning, and why he'd chosen to share it only with me. The Hendersons arrived at 7 sharp, dressed like they were attending a society fundraiser instead of a family dinner. I watched from the kitchen as Mom fussed over them in the foyer, her pearl necklace catching the light every time she laughed at their polite condolences. My trip to the bank was still burning in my mind, but I forced myself to focus on arranging the appetizer plates. Just act normal, I kept telling myself. But normal felt impossible after what I'd discovered. There you are. Chloe breezed into the kitchen, wearing a black dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Mom's been looking for you. Why aren't you dressed yet? I glanced down at my simple black pants and blouse. I am dressed. Oh, Avery. She sighed, reaching past me for the wine opener. You know what Mom means by dressed. The Henderson son is here. Jason? The investment banker. I'm dating Ethan, I reminded her, though lately, that fact felt more like a habit than a certainty. Right. Speaking of Ethan, he's been asking about Dad's will. Seems pretty interested in the details. My hands froze on the cheese plate. What details? Just everything. Chloe leaned against the counter, studying me. It's weird that Dad didn't leave anything specific to you, isn't it? I mean, you were always his favorite. Before I could respond, Mom swept in. Girls, what are you doing hiding in here? The Hendersons are waiting. She paused, frowning at my outfit. Avery, I specifically laid out that navy dress for you. I'm comfortable in this. Comfortable isn't the point. Mom's voice dropped to a whisper. Jason Henderson manages their entire family trust. We need to make connections right now, not. She gestured vaguely at my clothes. Not what, Mom? Not grieve. Don't start, Chloe warned, but Mom was already building steam. Your father would want us to be practical. The house, the lifestyle he worked so hard to provide, it all depends on maintaining certain relationships. Chloe understands this. Of course she does, I muttered. The doorbell rang again. Ethan's voice carried from the foyer, charming as ever. I heard him complimenting Mrs. Henderson's dress, and something in his tone made my skin crawl. I'll get the rest of the appetizers, I said, needing a moment alone. But as I reached for the fridge, I overheard Mom whisper to Chloe, the mortgage payment is due next week. Your father's life insurance is tied up in probate. We need the Hendersons' goodwill more than ever. My hand tightened on the fridge handle. Dad's letter suddenly made more sense. He must have known about the financial troubles, known Mom would try to maintain appearances at any cost. Avery? Ethan appeared in the doorway, looking perfectly at ease in his tailored suit. Need help? I've got it. He stepped closer anyway, lowering his voice. Your mom's worried about you. We all are. You've been distant since the funeral. I'm fine. Are you? Because Chloe mentioned you've been asking questions about your dad's finances. I set down the plate harder than necessary. Why are you and Chloe discussing me? We care about you. His hand touched my waist, but it felt wrong somehow. Maybe if you talk to me about what's bothering you. Avery, Mom called from the dining room. The Hendersons are asking about your work at the community center. I stepped away from Ethan, grateful for the interruption. But as I headed for the dining room, I caught a glimpse of him and Chloe exchanging a look that made my stomach turn. The safety deposit box key felt heavy in my pocket. Dad's words echoed in my head. You don't owe anyone your dreams. Looking at the perfectly arranged dining room, at Mom's desperate smile and Chloe's calculated charm, I finally understood what he meant. This wasn't just about money. It was about escape. So, Avery, Mrs. Henderson smiled benevolently. Tell us about your little charity work. I sat down, aware of all the eyes on me, each person wanting something different. Mom wanted a performance. Chloe wanted ammunition. Ethan wanted. Well, that was becoming clearer by the minute. But for the first time in my life, I didn't care what any of them wanted. The safety deposit box felt heavier than it should have as I placed it on the small table in the bank's private viewing room. My hands trembled slightly as I inserted the key, Dad's words from dinner 2 weeks ago echoing in my mind. Sometimes the quiet ones see everything. Sweetheart. Inside lay a thick manila envelope and a smaller white one with my name on it. I opened the white one first. My dear Avery, it began, by now you've probably noticed what's happening at home. Your mother's desperate social climbing, Chloe's increasing entitlement, and that boyfriend of yours asking all the wrong questions. My throat tightened. Even from beyond the grave, Dad saw right through everyone. The manila envelope contained bank statements, property deeds, and finally, a cashier's check that made my hands shake. $2 million. More money than I'd ever seen in my life. Everything okay in there, Miss Thompson? The bank manager knocked softly. Yes, fine, I called back, quickly stuffing the check into my purse. My phone buzzed. Ethan again. 3 missed calls since this morning. I silenced it and returned to Dad's letter. This money comes from my personal accounts, built up over years of careful planning. Your mother never knew about it. Neither did Chloe. I watched them both become something I never wanted for you, people who measure their worth by others' approval. The door opened suddenly. I scrambled to hide the papers, but it was too late. Chloe stood there, her perfect makeup not quite hiding her rage. I knew it, she hissed. I followed you here after I saw the bank's number on your phone last night. This is a private room, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Private? Like how Dad privately set you up while leaving the rest of us to drown. She stepped closer, eyes fixed on the papers in my hands. Mom's about to lose everything and you're here hoarding secrets? It's not what you think. Really? Because I think Dad played favorites right until the end. Perfect Avery, the one who understood him. She spat the words. While I got stuck managing Mom's breakdowns and trying to hold everything together. Hold everything together? Is that what you call flirting with my boyfriend? Chloe's face flickered with something. Guilt? Fear? Before hardening again. I don't know what you're talking about. I saw you two at dinner last night. The looks, the whispers. How long has it been going on? This isn't about Ethan. She reached for the papers. This is about family. I pulled them away, Dad's words burning in my mind. You don't owe anyone your dreams. You're right, I said. This is about family. About how you and Mom turned it into a competition. About how Dad saw it happening and tried to protect at least one of us from becoming like that. Protect? Chloe laughed bitterly. By hiding money? By lying? By giving me a choice. The bank manager appeared in the doorway. Is everything all right, ladies? Fine, we said in unison, a lifetime of keeping up appearances kicking in automatically. Show me what's in those papers, Chloe demanded once he left, or I'll tell Mom everything. I looked at my sister, really looked at her. Behind the perfect facade, I saw something familiar, the same trapped feeling I'd been fighting all my life. You know what? Tell her. Tell everyone. Because I'm done pretending everything's fine when it's not. I gathered the papers and stood up. Chloe grabbed my arm, her manicured nails digging in. You can't just walk away. We're family. Yes, I said, gently removing her hand. And maybe that's the problem. As I walked out of the bank, my phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from Ethan. We need to talk about your sister. I stared at the message, a strange calm settling over me. Dad had seen it all coming, the desperation, the betrayals, the choices I'd have to make. He hadn't just left me money, he'd left me an escape route. I typed back a single word. Yes. It was time to stop being the quiet one who saw everything. It was time to be the one who did something about it. I met Ethan at our usual coffee shop, the one where we had our first date 2 years ago. He was already there, 2 cups on the table, mine with extra cream, just how I liked it. The perfect boyfriend move. Too perfect. We need to talk about what happened at the bank, he said as I sat down. Interesting. I thought we needed to talk about my sister. His fingers tightened around his cup. Chloe's worried about you. We all are. Are you sleeping with her? The question hung there, sharp and ugly. Ethan's face did something complicated. Surprise, guilt, calculation, all in quick succession. That's not. This isn't about me and Chloe. He leaned forward. Your father left you money, didn't he? A lot of it. I thought about Dad's letter, about his quiet observations over the years. Had he seen this coming too? Your mother's about to lose everything, Ethan continued. The house, the social standing, all of it. You could help. Like you've been helping Chloe? He had the grace to flinch. Look, things got complicated. Chloe was vulnerable after your father died. Don't. My voice was steady, surprising even me. Don't you dare use my father's death as an excuse. A text lit up my phone. Mom, the bank called about the mortgage. Where are you? I switched it to silent as Ethan reached across the table. We can fix this, Avery. All of it. Just tell me about the money. Let me help you figure out what to do with it. The same words he'd used when I got my promotion last year. When I inherited my grandmother's jewelry. Always offering to help manage my resources. There's nothing to figure out, I said, standing up. It's already decided. Avery, wait, he grabbed my wrist. Too tight. You're not thinking clearly. Your father's death, the stress. Let me handle this. A memory surfaced. Dad at my college graduation, quietly slipping me extra cash while Mom fussed over Chloe's outfit. You've got good instincts, sweetheart, he'd said. Trust them. I pulled my arm free. How long? What? How long have you and Chloe been planning this? Was it before or after Dad died? His silence was answer enough. My phone buzzed again, Chloe this time. Mom's hysterical. If you have money, you need to help. It's what Dad would want. But that wasn't true, was it? Dad had spent years watching, planning, making sure at least one of us had a chance to break free. I loved you, I said to Ethan. Did that matter at all? He stood too, switching tactics. Of course it did. It does. But families stick together, right? Your mom needs help, Chloe needs support, and you need guidance. Let me be there for all of you. The pieces clicked into place. They'd planned it perfectly, Ethan keeping me close while Chloe worked on Mom, all of them waiting to see what Dad might have left behind. I reached into my bag and pulled out a small envelope. Here's your guidance. Inside were photos from my phone, screenshots of texts between him and Chloe going back months, pictures of their secret meetings that weren't so secret after all. I'm not the quiet one anymore, I said, watching his face pale. Dad taught me better than that. As I walked out, another text came through from Mom's bank. They were reviewing Dad's accounts, looking for hidden assets. They needed to speak with all family members. Time was running out. I had to decide, use Dad's money to save a family that never really wanted me, or honor his last wish and save myself. I thought about the community center where I volunteered, about the dreams I'd put on hold to play the dutiful daughter, about Dad, watching it all, planning an escape route. My phone buzzed one last time. Chloe, don't make me tell Mom everything. I smiled, thinking of the evidence safely backed up in 3 different places. Go ahead, I typed back. I've got some things to tell her too. I was packing the last of my office things when Chloe stormed in, waving her phone like a weapon. Behind her, Ethan lingered in the doorway, trying to look concerned instead of calculating. You're quitting your job? Chloe's voice carried down the hallway. Are you insane? I continued wrapping my desk photos in newspaper. Close the door. She slammed it instead, making the blinds rattle. Mom's having a breakdown. The bank is threatening foreclosure and you're running away. Interesting how you found out so quickly. I glanced at Ethan, almost like someone's been monitoring my emails. He had the decency to look away, but Chloe stepped closer, her designer heels clicking on the tile floor. You have $2 million, Avery. $2 million that could save our family, and you're choosing to abandon us. My hand stilled on Dad's old paperweight. How do you know the exact amount? The silence was deafening. Chloe's face flushed, and Ethan shifted uncomfortably. You went through my apartment. The realization hit like a punch. While I was at the coffee shop with Ethan. That's why he insisted on meeting there. We had to know, Ethan started, but I cut him off. Had to know what? How much I was worth betraying. That's not fair, Chloe's voice cracked. You don't understand what Mom's going through. What I'm going through. Dad left us with nothing but debt and secrets. Did you even look for his letter in my apartment? The one explaining why he did this? I watched their faces. No, of course not. You just wanted the numbers. My phone buzzed. Mom again. I ignored it. Whatever Dad's reasons, Ethan stepped forward, playing mediator. The reality is your family needs help. You have the means to provide it. Isn't that what matters? I pulled out my laptop, typing quickly. You're right. Family does matter. Finally, Chloe sighed. So you'll help? Oh, I'm helping. I turned the screen toward them. On it were dozens of screenshots, their secret meetings, text messages, bank records showing suspicious transfers from Mom's accounts to Chloe's private one. What are you doing? Ethan's voice lost its smooth edge. Sending copies to Mom, the family lawyer, and the bank's fraud department. My finger hovered over the enter key. Unless you want to tell me the truth. All of it. Chloe's facade cracked. We needed money for Mom's gambling debts. Dad knew, but he wouldn't help. He just kept saying we needed to face consequences and learn responsibility. So you decided to take responsibility by stealing from Mom's accounts and setting up your boyfriend to spy on me? He wasn't supposed to fall for you, Chloe whispered. It was just supposed to be a way to find out about Dad's assets. The words hit harder than I expected. 2 years of my life, all a calculation. Avery, Ethan reached for me. It started that way, but... Save it. I pressed enter. The bank will figure out the truth about Mom's missing money. And you too can explain to her why her golden daughter has been bleeding her accounts dry. You bitch, Chloe lunged forward, but Ethan caught her arm. You're destroying everything. No, I picked up my box of belongings. Dad saw this coming. The manipulation, the lies, all of it. He wasn't punishing you. He was protecting me. As I walked out, Chloe called after me. Mom will never forgive you for this. I thought about Dad's letter, safely stored away. Sometimes love means letting people face their own choices, sweetheart. Even when those choices hurt. My phone buzzed again, a text from the community center where I volunteered. Still interested in that full-time position? Yes, I typed back, stepping into the elevator. And I'd like to discuss expanding our programs. I suddenly have some investment capital to work with. Behind me, I could hear Chloe crying and Ethan trying to damage control. But for the first time since Dad died, I felt light. Free. Sometimes the quiet ones don't just see everything, they change everything. The family home looked different in the rain, smaller somehow. I sat in my car, watching Mom pace behind the living room windows, phone pressed to her ear. Probably calling her society friends, trying to explain why her accounts were suddenly frozen. My phone lit up, the bank's fraud department again. I'd have to deal with them eventually, but right now, I had to face something worse. Sunday dinner. The moment I stepped inside, I knew Chloe had already arrived. Her designer coat hung in its usual spot, dripping onto Mom's precious hardwood floors. In the dining room, voices carried. "We can fix this," Ethan was saying. "The bank just needs—" "Shut up," Chloe snapped. "This is all your fault. If you'd done your job properly." I rounded the corner. The room fell silent. Mom stood at the head of the table, clutching a stack of papers, printouts of the evidence I'd sent. Her hands shook slightly, but her voice was steel. "Sit down, Avery." I took Dad's old seat. No one had used it since the funeral. "Explain this." Mom slapped the papers down. "Explain why my daughter has been stealing from me while my other daughter hid millions." I think Chloe should explain first. I met my sister's eyes. About the gambling debts. About using Ethan to spy on me. About all of it. "You self-righteous bitch," Chloe's mascara was already running. "You have no idea what it's been like, watching you play the perfect daughter while Mom fell apart." "Perfect?" I laughed. "I was invisible. Until you needed something to steal." "Enough." Mom's hand slammed the table. "The bank is investigating both of you. Our name will be ruined. Everything your father built." Dad knew. The words stopped her cold. He knew about the gambling, the debt, all of it. That's why he protected the money from you. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Ethan cleared his throat. "There might be a way to fix this. If Avery turns over the inheritance, we could settle with the bank quietly. Keep everything private." "You mean keep your involvement private," I corrected. "I loved you," he said softly. "That part wasn't a lie. Just everything else?" Mom sank into her chair. $2 million. All this time, while I've been drowning in debt. "Your debt," I reminded her. "Your choices." "Our choices," Chloe countered. "We're family. We're supposed to help each other. Like you helped yourself to Mom's accounts?" "At least I stayed." Chloe shot back. "I didn't abandon her like you're doing." Mom looked up, suddenly sharp. "Is that true? Are you leaving?" I thought of the community center job offer, the chance to start fresh. "Yes." "Then you're no daughter of mine." Mom's voice was quiet, final. "If you walk away now, don't come back." The words should have hurt more. Instead, they felt like freedom. I stood up. Dad left one more letter. "Would you like to know what it said?" Nobody moved. He wrote that love isn't about enabling destructive behavior. It's about having the courage to let people face their own choices. I pulled out my phone, showing them the bank app. "So here's my choice." With a few taps, I transferred enough money to cover Mom's legitimate debts, not the gambling ones, not the secret credit cards. Just the mortgage and basic bills. "That's all you get," I said. "The rest goes where Dad intended, to someone who'll use it to help others, not enable more lies." "You can't do this," Chloe whispered. "I already have." I headed for the door, then turned back one last time. "Dad saw all of this coming. He saw you using me, using him, using each other. And he made sure at least one of us would break free." "Avery, wait." Mom called, but I was already walking out into the rain. My phone buzzed. "The community center director, when can you start?" Through my tears, I smiled. "Tomorrow," I typed back. "I'm ready to begin." Behind me, the family home grew smaller in my rearview mirror, its windows dark with secrets I no longer had to keep. The community center's windows glowed warm against the twilight as I finished unpacking my new office. 1 week since I'd walked away from my family, and already the world felt different. Clearer. A knock at the door made me freeze. Ethan stood there, hands in his pockets, looking more disheveled than I'd ever seen him. "The security guard let me in," he said. "We need to talk." "There's nothing to talk about. Your mother's in the hospital." The words hit like a slap. "Anxiety attack. Chloe found her unconscious this morning." I gripped the edge of my desk. "Why are you here, Ethan?" "Because I can fix this." He stepped closer. "The bank's investigation, your family's reputation, all of it. I have connections. Like the connections you used to spy on me? That was different. I didn't know you then." His voice softened. "I didn't know I'd fall in love with you." "You mean you didn't know Dad would leave me the money?" A flicker crossed his face. There it was, the truth behind the mask. "It's not that simple," he started, but another voice cut him off. "Actually, it is." Mom stood in the doorway, Chloe beside her. She looked smaller somehow, her designer outfit wrinkled, her makeup imperfect. "You're supposed to be in the hospital," I said. I checked myself out. Mom stepped into the office. I needed to see what was so important that my daughter would abandon her family for it. I gestured around the room. This is what Dad believed in. Helping people break free from toxic situations. Like the one you created. I created? Mom laughed bitterly. Your father kept secrets. He played favorites. He saw everything I cut in. The gambling, the lies, how you and Chloe manipulated everyone around you. He saw it all, and he made sure I'd see it too. Chloe moved to stand beside Ethan. We can still fix this. Together. As a family. Family? I pulled out my phone, playing a recording, Ethan's voice discussing their plan to access Dad's accounts. Chloe agreeing to use their relationship to manipulate me. Is this your idea of family? Mom's face went white. Chloe stepped forward, reaching for the phone, but I held up my hand. The bank already has copies. So does the district attorney. I met each of their eyes in turn. It's over. You'd send your own sister to jail? Mom whispered. No, but I won't protect her from her choices anymore. I turned to Ethan. Any of you. He moved suddenly, grabbing my arm. You don't understand what you're doing. The people I work with, the money involved. Let her go. The new voice made us all turn. Sarah, one of our center's clients, stood in the doorway with 2 police officers. I called them when I saw them come in. You okay, Avery? Ethan released me, stepping back as the officers entered. This is what Dad wanted, I said, watching their faces crumble. Not revenge. Not punishment. Just truth. The chance to build something honest from the ashes of all your lies. Miss Thompson. One officer stepped forward. We need to ask you some questions about the financial fraud complaint you filed. Mom sank into a chair, all pretense gone. Everything we did. I thought I was protecting our family. No, I said softly. You were protecting your image of what family should be. Dad protected me by showing me what family could be. As the officers led Ethan away, Chloe crying beside our shell-shocked mother, I looked around the center. At the women we'd help, the lives we'd change. At the legacy Dad had really left, not money, but the courage to break free. Miss Thompson. Sarah lingered in the doorway. The evening group is waiting. Should I tell them we're canceling? I straightened my desk, smoothed my shirt. No. Tell them we're just getting started. Behind me, Mom and Chloe watched in silence as I walked away, finally understanding what Dad had known all along. Sometimes love means letting go. 1 year later, I stood in front of the community center's newly expanded wing, watching as workers installed the dedication plaque. The Robert Thompson Memorial Center for New Beginnings. The morning sun caught the brass letters, making them glow like Dad's smile used to. Sarah appeared beside me, clipboard in hand. The first group of residents moves in next week. We've already got a waiting list for the transitional housing program. Dad would have loved this, I said, touching the plaque. Using his money to help people start over. Speaking of starting over. Sarah nodded toward the parking lot. Chloe stood there, looking different than I remembered. No designer clothes, no perfect makeup. Just my sister, wearing jeans and uncertainty. Hey, she said, stepping closer. Nice plaque. Thanks. How's the community service going? Almost done. The counseling too. She shifted, uncomfortable. Mom's doing better. The gambling addiction program. It's helping. I nodded, remembering the plea deal they'd both taken. Ethan hadn't been so lucky. His connections had turned out to be far more interested in saving themselves than him. I saw your interview, Chloe continued. About the center's mission. Helping women escape toxic relationships, find their strength. She paused. It reminded me of Dad's letters. You found them? Mom had them. All of them. He wrote to her too, trying to help her see what she was doing to us. To herself. Chloe's voice cracked. She never opened them until after the trial. Sarah touched my arm. "I'll check on the contractors," she said, leaving us alone. "I'm not ready to forgive everything," I said quietly. "I know. I'm not asking for that." Chloe pulled something from her bag, a familiar envelope. "But I found this in Mom's things. It's addressed to both of us from Dad." I haven't opened it. My hands shook slightly as I took it. Inside was a single photograph, Chloe and me as kids, laughing on a swing set, Dad pushing us both. "Turn it over," Chloe whispered. Dad's handwriting covered the back. "My girls, remember this moment. Before expectations, before competition, before fear drove you apart. Love isn't about keeping score. It's about pushing each other toward joy." He knew we'd end up here, I realized. Not just me breaking free, but you too. Eventually. "I have an interview next week," Chloe said. "With a domestic violence shelter. They need administrative help, and with my community service experience." "You're staying in social services?" She smiled slightly. "Turns out helping people feels better than manipulating them." Who knew? A group of women emerged from the center, heading to their life skills class. They walked tall, confident, free. Just like Dad always wanted for us. "We're starting a new support group," I said. "Family trauma and recovery. Tuesday nights." Chloe's eyes met mine. Yeah, if you're interested. I'll think about it." She turned to leave, then stopped. "Avery, that day in your office, when everything fell apart, you could have destroyed us completely, but you didn't. That's not what Dad taught me about strength." She nodded, understanding finally crossing her face. "I'll see you Tuesday." I watched her walk away, different now from the sister who'd helped tear our family apart. Not healed, not forgiven, but changing. Like all of us. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Saw the center's write-up in the paper. "Robert would be proud." I didn't respond, but I didn't delete it either. Some bridges take longer to rebuild than others. Inside my office, Dad's last letter sat framed on my desk. "Sometimes the greatest act of love is letting people find their own way back to themselves." Sarah knocked, smiling. "Ready?" "The new group's waiting." I touched the photograph in my pocket, feeling its edges, sharp but softening with time, like all the best truths do. "Yeah," I said. "I'm ready." Behind me, the plaque caught the sunlight again, casting warm shadows across the floor. Ahead, voices filled the center with new stories, new beginnings, new chances at joy. Just like Dad always knew they would.